Ready? All right, welcome. We are going to get started. Thank you for your patience as we went a little bit over. We're opening this regular Board of Education meeting for March 23rd, 2023. And we are first going to do our Pledge of Allegiance. Can you please lead us, Miss Weatherly? Sing if you'd like.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay, thank you. And we have our roll call. Clerk Coffey.
Present.
Trustee Pisati.
Here.
And I too am present, and Vice President Wong and Clerk Venegas will not be with us this evening. And that takes us to announcements of items, actions taken in closed session. We have Government Code Section 54956.9, pending or potential litigation, direction was given. Government Code Section 54957.6, conference with labor negotiators, WSTA, CSEA, and management, information was received. And Government Code Section 54957, Public Employee Discipline, Dismissal, Release, information received. And that takes us to approval of the agenda. Are there any changes to the agenda?
I have one change. I would like to take item 0F off of this agenda. We want to get some clarity on a couple of items, and so we want to be able to bring that item back.
Any other changes? Okay, so can I get approval of the agenda with consent F removed?
I move.
Okay, moved by Clerk Coffey,
I second.
seconded by Trustee Pisati. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. All right. And that takes us now to communications and celebrations, and you're going to start us off, Elliot, with the student board member report with Elliot Halcon from River City High School.
Thank you all for having me here. Yeah, Marie's got a little slideshow. I'm gonna go over the updates from multiple schools and just like what's going on and stuff that we're doing right now.
For some reason, mine's
All right. So in Bridgeway, they've had their literacy night where the PTO and volunteer stations with working on different aspects of teamwork, empathy, leadership, and change making for their students. They've also had the West Sac PD come in to celebrate St. Patrick's Day, and they had a great event with that with students and families. Elkhorn had 40 students participate in the UC Davis MESA competition, and they worked on gliders, moon base, CSI, and others. I remember this field trip. It was incredibly fun. In Southport, they had a performance, performance by their fourth graders on the Gold Rush this past month. Their first graders had their spelling bee. They look forward to everyone in their Glow year at their Glow family dance tomorrow, actually. And their Kindness Club continues to thrive. Oh. I think one more. Yeah. The Stonegate just had their jogathon for their boosters. I can personally attest that this was a very colorful thing. My brother came home with about 30 different colors in his hair. But they had a blast walking, running, and showing their school spirit. They're very proud of their Wildcats there at Westfield. They have their academic achievements and citizenship for their this trimester awards that just went out, and they have a lot of students that received them. In the virtual academy, next Tuesday, they have their in-person day, a physical fitness test for their 5th and 7th graders coming up, and their student recognition assemblies. Trait of the month inquires and curious, hip hop dance unit completion, and academic growth awards that they just went through, and their celebration is 30 students completed the hip hop dance unit, and from August to March, they're going to be students have made 137% growth on their iReady math. At Evergreen, they thanking Mr. C for working with their students on doing their transcript review for River City for next year. Their students are continuing to learn valuable math skills for real-life situations and volunteering with their partners at Yolo County Office of Education and multiple other disability classrooms to build relationships and empathy. At Washington Adult School, they'd like to thank Miss Imelda Subia Smith for all that they've dedicated for their students. They're grateful for her serving as a long-term substitute since November and the high caliber engaging instruction that she's had for that school. And they'd like to shout out their English language learner teacher team, that's a tongue twister, for the amazing professional learning community work they were doing in student skills and instructional practices they're getting. At YOLO, their student spotlight is Johnny Updegrove, who's an amazing student and individual and has accumulated over 300 hours of work in thespian activities this year at River City. That is a lot of hours. Johnny serves as the technical director and stage manager for River City High School shows, and they'd like to thank Mr. Hanks for providing this joint opportunity for students at River City, site administration for helping create a partnership for their students and participate in shared opportunities for everyone. And they thanking Dr. Hildreth for joining the Parent and Guardian Engagement monthly meeting. Their March Madness Round 1 was a huge success in celebrating positive student attendance as they saw an increase in student attendance. And they'd like to thank Manager Sharma, Elaine Stahl, Tiffany, and whatever is cut off for their quick response in supporting YOLO during the most recent storm. MOT. I can speak on this a little bit more. So tomorrow, actually, we're going to be starting a mural in the cafeteria for River City. That's what it's going to look like. It's going to be done tomorrow. It's going to be sketched and painted on Saturday for students. That's what it's going to look like. Yeah, it's been a big process getting student input, changing the design, stuff like that. But yeah, we're really excited about it. And then leadership has just accepted their incoming freshmen for their class. We have a lot from Bridgeway, some Stonegate, Southport, one Westfield, and one Westmore. So yeah, we are really excited about that. And there's no slides on this, but juniors are currently finishing up CAST testing that's going on. We have one more day left, which is a science one. It has been very stressful, I'm not gonna lie, but it's been nice. So yeah, thank you guys.
Thank you so much. And always, as always, you're welcome to stay as long as you like and give input on any items. And next in our celebrations, communications celebrations, we are recognizing the River City Jazz Band. And to do that, we have Matt Ainsworth, our Director of Curriculum, Instruction, and Professional Learning.
Good evening, President Kirby Gonzalez, trustees, Superintendent Hildreth. We're excited to continue our VAPA series, bringing our VAPA team forward and celebrating their success. Tonight we're joined by Ms. Felicia Weatherly and the River City Jazz Band. I'm going to turn things over to Felicia for a brief presentation, and then we get to fill the hall with music as Trustee Pizzotti had requested. So Felicia, go ahead.
Thank you, Matt. Thank you, board. Thank you, everyone. Yeah, let's pull that door. It's gonna be loud. The Sea Monkeys have been the center of my career for the last 26 years. I'm very, very proud of them and the things we've accomplished. I actually made a list of all the gigs we played and have coming up, and then I realized it was way too much to read. But I will point out that we do a lot of community events. I was thinking of Farm to Fork, Christmas tree lightings. We played the Roaring 20s Jubilee. We have attended 2 jazz festivals thus far this year. The Folsom Jazz Festival, where, raise your hands when I read your name, please. The following people got medals for outstanding musicianship: Audrey, Jaden, Lachlan, Liam, Abby, Jeff, Jacob, Levi, Leo, Taylor, Mia, and me. which was unusual but cool. We also went to the Tea Garden Jazz Festival, where the following people, including, we made a middle school band. We had a day camp. We made a middle school jazz band that went and competed. And Joe Ba, who was the piano player for that band, won a scholarship. And the following members over here, Jacob, Audrey, Abby, and Lachlan. Of course, we went to New Orleans a week and a day ago, and the Santa Cruz Jazz Festival this last weekend. That's why I look a little, I'm aging quickly, where we got unanimous superiors, and Jacob Ramsey also received special recognition. And of course, our big band got a command performance, so yay, VAPA team. And then this weekend at Drake's the Barn, we will be doing a fundraiser for the Tea Garden Jazz Camp, which many of our members attend, and it is the camp that made me want to be a music teacher. So, it's good. As you know, we went to New Orleans. I just figured out, and I didn't believe the number until my chaperones, my mighty team of chaperones over here, confirmed. We walked nearly 60 miles, 58.59 miles over 8 days. Were there blisters? Yes. But just a quick rundown of our trip, because I know that we've brought it up a few times here. First night, we had dinner dance cruise on the Mississippi. We did 6 hours of volunteer work the next day. We had dinner at Palm Court with Leroy Jones, who's Harry Connick's solo trumpet player. We had a clinic at Loyola University. We went to Mardi Gras World. We made Mardi Gras masks. We went on a ghost tour. We went to Cafe Du Monde. We filmed a music video with a Grammy-winning band. We went on a cemetery tour, New Orleans Jazz Museum, French Market, watched Dorian Ketchens, lesson with alumni Caleb Nelson, performance, a 3-hour performance at a venue there. With alumni sitting in, clinic at Preservation Hall, busking in Jackson Square. That wasn't actually organized. I was talking to some musicians and looked up, and the kids had a case open, and we're playing in Jackson Square. We made $64 with 2 songs. Swamp tour, sat in with Doyle and Cooper and Matt Prine alumni Gavin Eckler, clinic about jazz funerals, and our final day there, we performed a jazz funeral memorial along the Mississippi, which was very powerful. And that's when I realized how bonded our kiddos were when, I told them, think of someone you've lost, and we threw flowers in the Mississippi and we watched them float. And I was crying because, but I realized all behind me, I hear these sniffles, and I turn around, puffy faces and arms around each other, and just this journey had just done so much. So we did learn a thing or two on our trip, and we would like to show you that to you. So come on out, little sea monkeys. Yeah, they're all taller than me, but except for Mia. I said except for Mia. All right, bring it, guys. Show them what New Orleans taught us. We're performing for the school board. Yeah. You guys could rotate. You guys could turn.
There, we'll come down there. Yeah, like you will turn there and we'll.
Okay, spin that around real quick. Spin that around. Quick. Nope, you're in the front.
put my finger in front of it? Was that?
Little tighter, a little
No, I don't
tighter.
think the chaperones need to be in the picture.
All right, perfect. Everyone looking at me on 3. 1, 2, 3.
Prop. 3.
Good evening. Is this on? President Kirby Gonzalez, respected trustees, Dr. Hilbreth. I'm very pleased to introduce Principal Lane and her entourage as they present a picture of Washington Middle College. Thank you for being here.
Thank you. You took my intro. Thanks for having us, and we hope we can give you a little snapshot of what Washington Middle College is all about, what we've been up to, and where we're going. I'm going to go ahead and let my student speakers introduce themselves.
Hello, my name is Anna Maxwell.
Hello, my name is Hannah Vasquez.
Hi, I'm Carmen Rodriguez.
Hey, my name is Asher Kraus.
Hi, my name is Connor Leibrock.
And again, I'm Rachel Lane, the new principal at Washington Middle College. So first we have Anna. She's going to give us a little bit about history and our mission and vision.
In 2007, a unique nonprofit education partnership was formed between the Washington Unified School District, the Regents of the University of California on behalf of the UC Davis School of Education, and the Los Rios Community College District on behalf of the Sacramento City College to start a public independent charter school, West Sacramento Early College Prep. In June of 2016, the governance and operation of WSC ECP Charter School changed from that of an independently operated charter school to a WUSD operated dependent charter known as Washington Middle College High School, a public charter high school serving students in grades 9 through 12. WMCHS will use the demonstrably successful model of the Middle College National Consortium schools blended with an innovative instructional model, educational philosophy, and community partnerships as a guiding framework in the establishment of WMCHS. WMCHS will build upon the success and lessons learned from MCNC, with modifications made to best serve the needs of students in surrounding communities, with priority enrollment going to WUSD students. WMCHS will implement a safe, supportive, and structured middle college environment where a rigorous blend of high school and college are integrated with a flexible and individualized pathway that will support all students with 21st century skills to ensure college and career readiness. The ultimate goal is to develop and empower students and families to be successful through higher education, career, and beyond. As for our mission and vision, we will prepare all students, especially those who are underrepresented, for success in college and career readiness through a blended high school age curriculum. We have achieved this mission by offering project-based learning, a blended instructional model, dual enrollment, and early college experiences, along with a differentiated support through a nurturing family-based school culture. WMCHS is structured on the Middle College National Consortium design principle, with possible pathways available to all students. These same pathways will provide students with high school and college courses, along with internships, hands-on experience directly aligned to each student's pathway of choice, and post-secondary plans. For our vision, we see a community where all students will prepare for their future, develop pride, and acquire core knowledge for success in not just today's, but tomorrow's world. We also achieve this by establishing a place where all students develop character through social-emotional learning, while acquiring the core knowledge and skills necessary for high school academic achievement, college admission, college graduation, and ultimately success in today's times. With unwavering high expectations for all stakeholders, we also provide high quality and high school courses and college courses to all students. These courses are centered on pathway of choice. Students take these core content high school courses that meet A through G requirements and community college courses that support both the attainment of an AA degree and career-focused electives. Moving on to our middle college design principles. Middle colleges prepare students to be college-ready, an education plan including high school and college courses that allow students to graduate from high school with significant college course completed. Now on to the next student speaker.
Hi, everyone. Before I start talking about the facts, give me 1 second. Okay, so before I start talking about the facts, I first wanted to point out that I'm 1 in 3 seniors that are going to be graduating with an associate's in psychology, if you want to be specific. Yes, so I want to talk about specifically how this statement is true to not just myself, but again, 2 other students. And I also wanted to mention that there are other students earning a significant number of college credits, a post-secondary certificate, and or associate's degree upon graduating high school. I'm so sorry. Okay, so this is accomplished through obviously many things, but one of those things are our use of technology and how we use it to enhance our teaching, learning, and assessment, how students regularly receive feedback on our work and progress to obtain grade level proficiency, and so on. Students take classes, so next, from
What happened?
Try the next slide. Maybe that's why. Okay, you see that. Yes. So you can, students can take from music appreciation to even conceptual physics, which was a pretty hard class. And the list continues, as you can see. Not only are students taking general ed courses, but they're also able to go into different interests, such as psychology, as I mentioned. Although these courses are attended off the physical campus of Washington Middle, we continue to practice this college-focused mindset on campus. In biology, on the next slide, you will see that there's students participating in labs and so on. In our English classes, we're also participating in Socratic seminars. In these seminars, students practice critical thinking skills, engaging in intellectual inquiry, and voicing, of course, our respectful opinions to formulate better understandings. On the next slide, you will see that also occurring on our campus is our creation and innovation labs that happen every Fridays, which Fridays are the best day because we get off at 12:10. But Fridays also allow for our students to pick a club of our choice and even create one of your own if you'd like. Along with yearbook and photography, we also have clubs such as coding, art, and even leadership. In these multi-age classrooms, students learn to build connections, which I have done so in creating friends that are younger than me and older than I am. On the next slide, not the next slide. Our school provides multiple opportunities through various of classes and activities to exhibit what they know and even step out of their comfort zone. And on to the next.
Our second design principle is comprehensive support systems. One thing that we really pride ourselves on at Washington Middle College is being a small school. Being a small school allows us to have a close community, and lots of hands-on support. Teachers and administrators are able to keep tabs on students, how they're doing in their courses, and support them. When students are having a hard day, they know they can talk with teachers, one another, or even our on-site outreach specialist. When students need some help with schoolwork, they can talk with the teachers and have a designated collaborative study group every Friday. If students need help with college work, they have access to tutoring on-site or through the community college. We have a lot of community systems. Here's our fall festival. It was a really great time. Everybody had a nice time. And some students even got to see Neil deGrasse Tyson speak at the Performing Arts Center.
Hi, I'm Carmen, and when I graduate, I'm going to be earning my high school diploma and 2 associate's degrees. The first one's going to be in interdisciplinary studies, social and behavioral sciences, and the next, interdisciplinary studies, arts and humanities. I'm going to be discussing design principle number 3, dynamic school-college partnership. Washington Middle College High School has a very strong partnership with Sac City College. We regularly communicate with college representatives, counselors, and faculty. Teachers help students align their schedules so that their college and high school classes do not interfere with each other. For me, I'm taking all of my high school classes on Mondays, Wednesdays, and Fridays so that I can take my college classes on Tuesdays and Thursdays. In addition to taking classes at Sac City College, we can use the support systems offered, such as tutoring, writing centers, and labs. We also connect eligible students to disability support services at Sac City College. Washington Middle College High School has an on-site HCD professor that teaches college support classes. This is very helpful for kids who have any questions or concerns. Lastly, the CCAP agreement aligns with the Middle College Pathways and provides opportunities for students to obtain max college credit. Washington Middle College High School students are able to attend classes at both Sac City College main campus and Sac City College West Sac Center. Thank you.
All right, moving on to design principle number 4, which is our culture of continuous improvement. We're all assessed by our teachers often, and our individual needs can be seen and met. All of our teachers are AVID trained and certified. The staff apparently have weekly meetings to discuss all of the issues in the school and to update everything according to our needs. And our school is heavily involved in many conferences, including AVID, MCNC, CADA, and ACSA. Next slide. And as well as some other events with CASTLE and NCUSD. A lot of long names there I'm not familiar with. And then we have another slide about the same CADA, I guess. Again, I'm not familiar with any of these. And we also have our ASB leadership class on the next slide, which is, being such a small school, very involved. We speak directly with the principal pretty frequently, and when we want to get something done, we can get it done very fast compared to what I've heard about other schools. We have had 2 students receive, on the next slide, the ACSA AXA awards, which I think goes to show how our schools are able to really push us to do what we are able to do despite how difficult of a program we have and how demanding it is, and our school helps us with it a lot.
All right, thank you. Awesome. So now on to just some facts about the Washington Middle College. Our demographics, as you can see, is predominantly Hispanic at about almost 60%. And the Middle College is designed to support underrepresented groups. And so in Washington Middle College also is a reflection of the West Sac community with that, with the ethnicity spread. Next. On our last CAS CAST report, we had a 68% met and exceeded in our ELA, and this was compared to a state average of 47% and a district average of 42%. Our CAST for grade 11 science, we scored an overall performance of 65% in comparison to a state average of 29.45 and a district average of 25.02. Our math was a 15% met or exceed in math compared to the state average of 33 and a district average of 25. And because of these results and that every week we meet to discuss our data, we've incorporated several interventions embedded into the school day to include math support classes, math labs, summer enrichment study hall periods, teacher office hours, collaborative study groups, and online tutoring. We have also created a math pathway support class and hired another math teacher to support the intervention classes. Our students that are enrolled in that go through our middle college, the last statistics were 88% were enrolled into a 4-year program after graduation. But this year alone, and that was just a picture of where there's Hannah's, those are the little happy faces that she's got accepted into. And then 100% of our students, seniors this year, have received acceptance letters to a 4-year institution, which is a really incredible feat because this year it's very difficult. I don't know if you know, but a lot of the UCs are accepting their transfer students, and with COVID, a lot of students went into junior colleges, and now they're overloaded with transfer students. So it's very hard. Some of our 3.8 at other schools, students at other schools at 3.8 and 4.0s are not getting into UC Davis, but our students are, because they can also transfer their AA degrees and get into their 4-year as like juniors. So it's just an incredible opportunity for our students to go through the program. Our suspension rate is 0. So I just wanted to throw that in there. Don't really have to worry about too much discipline. I think they're too tired from studying. Our past survey results. So this is something that we do in fall and spring. And based on our past survey results, when we started to look at the data, we noticed that the student connectedness to the school and to the teachers is extremely high because of the close relationship that we have. We only accept 75 students per grade level, and it's a small program, and the student needs are number one. And we noticed also that the personal confidence and the response to curriculum was an area of concern for most students. And so we started embedding additional supports into the school day to include math support, study hall periods, also social emotional supports. We include SEL every Friday into our curriculum during our minimum days. And then we also have incorporated stress management support group because that was a big area of need for our students who are attending both college and high school. We also have, I hired a new youth outreach support provider, and she is working with Victor Services, an outside agency, and we have weekly stress management support classes at after school. So for students, we did a survey, found out that was a need, and so we started incorporating that into the program. Next. So for this year, our areas of growth have been that we hired a youth outreach specialist. We embedded an additional math support class to help struggling students. We added an AVID support coach to streamline AVID across all grade levels and classes. AVID training and support for all teachers, including our beginning teacher. We embedded SEL into weekly seminar. We connected with Victor Services to incorporate stress management groups and wellness classes based on past survey results. We incorporated an ASB leadership class to increase student connectedness to the high school experience. And we expanded leadership opportunities with outside agencies such as Davis Tree Program. What we're looking forward to next year is completing our self-study for WASC to evaluate our program, renew our charter in June of 2025. We want to establish a map of all the services offered on Washington Middle College campus to include SEL, tutoring, and outreach. Add an ASB leadership class period, so they have more time instead of just that minimum day on Friday. We would like to establish a tutoring center on site to provide college resources for Sac City College classes, and added a college success class, academic support class during the school day, and we just wrote that up, to support students with their college workload. And also coordinate with the Sac City College to provide HSI early intervention check-in class for all low-income Hispanic students, whereas the teacher acts from Sac City College or professor acts as a mentor and checks in with students weekly to monitor their progress and grades. The past students, where are they now? They're all over the state of California. And also they continue to check back in with us. They come to the school, they show up, they go visit their teachers. They send us updates on how they're doing. This last one was from, she's going Tri-Delt at UC Merced and helping to fundraise for cancer research. So she sent that flyer to us. So if you want to donate, there's a Venmo. But they also go out of state, Texas, Hawaii, wherever they, like I said, they get accepted all over. Next slide. And so we're looking forward to 2023 next year. And it's an honor to be a part of this fabulous group of students and amazing teachers at Washington Middle College and High School. Any questions?
Yes, thank you. First, I'll ask if we have any public comments, which I do not see for this item.
No public comment?
Okay, so do we have any board comments or student board? Let's do our student board member.
Yeah, so you guys are
Alton.
talking about your ASB class, and as a member of ASB, I just wonder what you guys are doing at your guys' school. Just like maybe share idea kind of thing.
She's our
We plan a lot of events for our school. While we do have access to River City events such as their dances, we also like to plan our own dances. In this past school year, we celebrated a Halloween dance where we even had our own costume contest. We also had our Sweetheart Ball, which was a Valentine's Day event. And we're still in leadership, looking out to do more activities. We're checking in with the students to see what they want to see from us. And also, we're looking out for the school entirely. A major problem that we've been discussing and trying to fix is how not many people actually know of our school. And we've actually made quite a few breakthroughs with discussing that. And that's really what we do. We make events, we plan, we fix problems, and we do our best to support our school.
Thank you. I'd love to collaborate with you guys, River City High School to Washington Middle, so we could collaborate on events and incorporate like different aspects of each other's culture into one. So thank you so much.
Great, thank you. Yeah, Trustee Passati?
Yeah, so thank you for the presentation, and I'm glad you mentioned stress, because I know that this could be an incredibly, like, you're going after AAs, double AAs in some cases, right? So I remember when we created this dependent charter many moons back, I was always kind of worried about, like, how are the kids managing the stress? Because you really are, like, pushing yourself to the limits capacity-wise. And I'm glad to see that you have, stress management classes through Victor Services. My question is, how comfortable are students reaching out for groups like that, for like a group stress management class?
So I wanted to answer the question because I felt like stressed all the time.
Imagine.
And I always know that I can count on my teachers, and I know that if I have a teacher come up to me and say that this group will help me, I will go out and I will ask for help. I wanted to also mention that a few days ago I had a meeting with the professor because I wanted to improve my writing skills, and it's just things like that that I know that I can count on this school to not only provide the resources, but to reach out. And I think we are like maybe 9 out of 10 comfortable with asking for help, especially because we're all stressed and we all feel the same.
Right. So that goes for the majority of,
Yeah,
of
I
the
would-
majority of you? Yeah.
So personally, I just switched over to Washington Middle College this year, and that was definitely a concern of mine. You know, it's a big change from a regular high school curriculum. There's no doubt about it. But the really nice thing about the school is that the teachers understand that. You know, if you have a hard day, if you're not able to get the work turned in on the deadline that they set, they can work with you, you know, and they understand it and they work around it. And it's been a really great experience.
Okay.
Thank you.
Good. Thank
And then also to help with the stress, one thing we're standards-based grading, so students can also, if they, you know, you have to have a C or better in order to be A through G eligible at Washington Middle College. So if a student scores, you know, they receive a score aren't happy with, they can actually retake the exam or do another writing assignment, you know, to improve that grade. And also, again, they're flexible with deadlines and timelines, and you know, we don't grade for homework, so it's all about grading for the standard. But they do have the opportunity to make that. And this summer, you know, some of our students got some coursework behind on like math or maybe some Abbott assignments. So it's not a traditional summer school, but there's 2 weeks where they can go ahead and make up some stuff, turn in some late assignments in order to get that passing grade of a C or better. So this summer enrichment. Also as far as like stress, so because it's so small, we have, you know, only no more than 75 per grade level. Last semester, we had, the students have to take physics in order to graduate. That's a requirement. So a lot of them were struggling with that. And so our counselor coordinated with Sac City College to provide tutoring, and it was online. So during the study period that they embedded into the school day, they were online with a tutor from Sac City College to help with that physics class, and then luckily they all passed.
That's
So
great.
we do a lot of, I mean, because it's so small, we know we do grade checks every Friday, so we can catch them if they're starting to slip, and then we make adjustments, like I said, with tutoring or whatever, to be able to support them. Because the whole point is, you know, we want them to, because their college transcript follows them, so we
Right.
don't want them to fail or have a withdrawal.
Anna, you brought up a good point, and that was about how do you get the word out about this great opportunity. And I'm just kind of curious as to what's our enrollment look like for next year? Are we, you know, at the 75 capacity, or do we have room? And if so, how can we?
So this year we went out and we did site visits to all of the K-8, and we visited the 8th graders, and some of these guys, we presented our program. And then after that, we sent out postcards throughout all 8th, 9th, 10th, and 11th grade households in the Washington Unified. And we have an online little like interest form. And then from there, I had a site visit day and invited all the people that were interested in, and they were there for breakfast and lunch, and we did tours and ASB panel, and you know, walked around the campus and did a presentation for the incoming families. And then that kind of also, I wanted to make sure they really understood what they were signing up for. And then from that, then there was some word of mouth, and we're at about 65 freshmen for next year. Now that could change because people, you know, they get a little nervous and then back out. But we've been sending out the emails and just connecting with the incoming students and making sure that, you know, they're connected and, you know, ready to come to our school.
Well, you guys are the best recruitment tool for your school. So, I mean, the more that you can get out to the K-8 campuses, the better I think it would be. I think they really would, you know, resonate. Your speeches would resonate with them as well. Pretty hard.
Yes, I actually wanted to also, I know that some of your students also participate in the sports at River City.
Yeah.
And you guys also go to the dances, and you have some of those as well. I think in the beginning, when I first heard of your school, I didn't realize how connected you guys were to the high school. I think that's something that can be also promoted, because my initial thought was high school that's focused on college and that's it. There's no, well, I'm like, well, where would they play baseball, or where would they play soccer? Like, where do they do that? Because I'm thinking I would like my son to have, or my daughter to have, that additional, curriculum on their resume for application, right? I think that wasn't really highlighted, and so it became more academic driven, and there wasn't that other component. And I think if you guys highlight that too, it will help some of us parents who don't always read the fine print, see that piece. I think it would help you guys. But definitely know some of your students there, and they absolutely love it. And then I know some of the kids who go to the Bright Cafe, who also interact with you guys, have nothing but good things to say about you guys.
And that's one of the things we did when we went to the site visits. That's why I took the students with me, because I told them that they can play sports at River City. We have several athletes: tennis, swimming, volleyball, soccer, football, and so forth. And they can still attend their dances, their proms, etc. So we went out with the students, and I also wanted to show them, the 8th graders, the face of Washington Middle College, because when I first came to the school, there was some mixed messages, and so I wanted students to see that, hey, these are just kids like you. And so we're just trying to change the messaging around it, and then also by incorporating some of that other stuff like leadership this year and next year and going forward, just trying to bring that high school experience also to have that balance. But
it's exciting to see from where this began, because used to have a different name and used to be an independent charter school, and there was not a connection to River City, and it was fiscally insolvent. And so we were actually asked as a district, UC Davis had been doing some work with them to take it on. It was going to be closed. And I have to give a lot of credit to the district vision to say, let's turn this into a dependent charter school, change the name, change the whole process, turn it into Middle College. It went and did some work to observe other districts and what they were doing that were successful. And that first year, I think we had, 5 people on stage that were graduating. So when you talk about small, it was teeny tiny. And so to see it go from that, where fiscally it was not supporting itself, to where we are now, I just have to say to the students who've made it so successful, and then Principal Lane and to all the staff for making it such a success. It's really exciting to have this option in the city for our kids. And so thank you for all the hard work that you're doing so that this can be a really strong program and people have options for what they want within.
And then the nearest middle college is actually in Stockton at Delta College.
Yeah.
Because they're traditionally on a college campus. And so this is really, there's nothing in this region, even though there was something on the news, but really there's nothing like this in this region besides like Delta. So
it's really
it's
special.
a great opportunity.
Thank you all. We really, really appreciate it. Okay, and thank you for everyone for hanging in with us as well as we go into now our WSTA report, which is with President Knapp. Welcome.
Thank you in advance to everybody for hanging with me. I've got several items. The first thing is just celebrating the Syncopating Sea Monkeys. It was super exciting to see 2 of my former students in there. Music is near and dear to my heart, as most of you know. So it was just great to see that. And I love seeing those opportunities to travel and learn about the world for our students. So that's really excited. I kind of have 2 parts tonight. I'm going to start with some prepared comments and then a couple of comments that I wanted to make on top of that. Good evening, Superintendent Hildreth, President Kirby Gonzalez, Vice President Wong, Clerk Coffey, and respected trustees. I know your names too. I want to start off by discussing recent comments made before the board regarding LGBTQ clubs and WUSD. While our members understand that families have the sacred responsibility to raise children based on personal family values and morality, we also know that we must protect our students' inalienable right to identity and dignity. We must accept all of our students for who they are without judgment regarding their qualifications to make this determination for themselves. This is a basic human right. As we all know, our kids are experiencing the greatest mental health crisis of our lifetimes. Juvenile and teen suicide rates have skyrocketed, and schools must be a safe place for all students who express who they are, free of stigma and political dogmatic judgments. Further, these clubs are protected by state law. No one in this room has the right to curb student expression on matters of identity. West Sacramento teachers stand with human dignity. We stand with our LGBTQ students, and we will continue to do so until our society as a whole embraces all forms of love and discontinues practices of marginalization and discrimination. On that note, I also want to celebrate Sac City Unified School District for raising the LGBTQ plus flag this week. I was excited to see our school board member at that celebration. I'm really hoping that our district can follow suit, because that flag is a shield of protection for our students. It sends that message that they're going to a place where they can feel safe. So I hope we can follow suit. WSTA is excited for students in our community to potentially receive funding through recently submitted community schools implementation grants. This week, WUSD submitted this implementation grant for River City High School and Riverbank Elementary School. We are also eager and hopeful for Elkhorn Village and Westfield Elementary to receive planning grants and begin the process to an anticipated implementation of the community schools model. Recently, WSTA, CSEA, and other educational partners have expressed concern about WUSD alignment to Pillar 3 of the critical pillars of practice for adopting effective community schools. So I'm going to remind everybody what Pillar 3 is. Pillar 3 requires shared leadership from all educational partners, that's teachers, community members, families, students, community businesses, and district and administration. Shared leadership from all educational partners as planning and implementation occurs. It is a critical element to build trust and ensure that schools will reflect the needs and vibrancy of the neighborhoods in which they reside. WSTA recognizes the need for grace and room for learning as we embark together on this new vision of educational practice, and we have stated as much to our WUSD partners. We must grant that determining what shared leadership and facilitation will look like for our community will be a somewhat bumpy process, and after several weeks of advocacy, WSTA, CSEA, and other educational partners we appear to be on track to reaching this critical point of shared collaboration. However, some concerns remain. Steering committee members have yet to see or have access to the budget plan for any of the community schools projects. It is difficult to make critical decisions or have sufficient understanding of program selection when there is no knowledge of financial impacts or even distribution of funds. We and other partners have asked for access to budget documents on multiple occasions and haven't seen them yet. In the absence of the ability to conduct fiscal oversight, we have concerns about our ability to fairly represent our respective constituency. We also have concerns regarding transparency. The nonprofit agency that has been selected to facilitate community schools work appears to have also written themselves into implementation grants as contractors for services. My understanding is that we have not contracted with this agency prior to the community schools project. We have concerns about conflicts of interest and appearances. I want to remind folks that community schools are all about trust. We're going into communities and asking them what they need, what matters to these schools. So it's really important that the transparency of these programs is totally clear. Many of these concerns could be resolved if educational partners had shared oversight of the financials. Let me be clear, we are not assuming ethics issues or impropriety in any way. However, it is critical that this process is transparent and that we can build trust with members of the community. We know that these grants are an opportunity for students in West Sacramento. Many of the schools that are in line to receive these funds are desperate for a new model of learning, a model that emphasizes the specific challenges that face each of them in their own region. Community schools are meant to meet this exact need for students and schools. I think we can all agree it's important to get this right for their sakes. WSTA would like to thank our partners in WUSD for applying for these grants and making recent efforts to make sure that we are all engaged with equal footing and representation. Let's continue this difficult and important work with flexibility and grace. I'm going to repeat that, and grace. We understand we're all new to this. We have never done this before. Mistakes are going to be made, and we will learn as we go. Let us shoulder this responsibility together as education partners with a single goal, student success. And then a couple of items I just had notes of. First of all, I want to celebrate what I heard about Washington Middle College High School. I have been fortunate enough to meet Miss Rachel Lane and spent some time there. Haven't gotten to spend very much time, but I'm very impressed with the model. I'm impressed with the opportunities that are provided, and I'm impressed with the school. My concern with Washington Middle College High School is I've had many teachers reach out to me about sustainability, because we're creating incredible opportunities for students, but teachers are reporting to me that they don't see how they can maintain the work that they're doing. So as we looked at 2025 and a renewal of the charter, I want us to make sure we're being extremely deliberate to talk about sustainability and how we're going to do this. There's a number of issues. The hours that Washington Middle College High School teachers are working, and I don't know that anybody's asking them, but they're doing it to meet the needs of the students, are unsustainable. I've also been told that some of the programs that the Bright campus offers to River City High School are not actually offered, some of the pathways are not actually offered to the students on the campus itself. So we want to make sure that we're not sending the message that, yeah, you can go to school on this side of town, but we're not going to give you the same pathways that we're going to give River City. So that's a dangerous little message. Two other items really briefly. One, I want you to expect a report from my association and the SPED department on impacts on SPED. We all know that they're overworked and we're concerned about case numbers and minutes. I don't want you to be taken off guard. In May, we're looking to present a report to you that's a broad report on SPED, so anticipate that. The last item I want to talk to you about is I want to talk a little bit about YOLO, because this board on multiple occasions talks about making sure that we represent the underserved, the unduplicated, the marginalized populations in our district. And we've spent an awful lot of time talking and celebrating about Washington Middle College High School, but YOLO continuation is kind of like we whisper that word. And these students deserve our best, and these teachers are trying. I can tell you, out of every 2 disciplinary meeting I've gone to for teachers, one of them is at YOLO. And consider the staff level at YOLO. So here's a question for you. Are the YOLO teachers just somehow an outlier, and somehow we have teachers at YOLO that don't represent everybody else? Or is this a management issue? Because I can tell you the answer. I've been here for 20 years. Those numbers are a management issue. Our YOLO teachers and students deserve better. Why don't we have these programs for YOLO? We sent our YOLO teachers last year to programs up in the foothills to build a school more like Washington Middle College High School with pathways for programs. And yet, we don't have much innovative going on at YOLO, and our YOLO teachers' morale is really low, I can tell you that. When we are hiring for these positions of administrators, we need to put our best at the places that they're needed. And I'm not making judgments about current administration, but I am saying that what is happening currently at YOLO is not sustainable. I am sick and tired of going to meetings at YOLO because somehow our YOLO teachers are out of line. It doesn't make any sense. They're no different than any of the rest of us. So I hope we reflect on that. Thank you so much for all your hard work. Have a good evening.
Okay, thank you, President Knapp. Next, we have our CSEA report, and we have Vice President instead, Ruth Pagano-Turn.
First and foremost, happy Ramadan to our students and families. This beautiful communication piece came out today. It went to thousands in our community, and it was translated by our homeschool liaisons. Good evening, Superintendent Hildreth, Board President Kirby Gonzalez, and trustees, staff, and guests. As you know, the Community Schools Facilitator position is on tonight's agenda. We appreciate the fact that this position is now a classified position within our union, as the description of the work clearly aligns with our unit. We want to publicly thank WSTA for acknowledging us at the last board meeting, and we value our solidarity. In the future, we are requesting that the district follows proper labor relations protocols and requirements to meet with all bargaining units, including CSEA, for any and all alignments and potential impacts. Exactly 4 weeks have passed since the first time this position was pulled from the agenda, and in that 4 weeks, just last week, the district provided us one-hour meeting on this position. Next, our reclassification process has stalled for those being currently reclassed. We have met and negotiated. CSEA has compromised on titles and new language within the job descriptions, which include new duties and additional complex work. One compromise CSA made was not using the title specialist for our homeschool liaisons, but they are. They are multilingual language specialists. We have listened to the district's reasoning about why they don't want to title or adequately increase the pay for our members to fair and living wages. But in our opinion, it comes down to this: systemic inequity. The district has said that increasing pay by a few steps, like $2, is appropriate or significant. Well, in terms of equity, it's not. When there are old, non-applicable job descriptions that were written over 10 years ago with inadequate pay then and are not reflective of our current duties, higher increases are not just warranted, they are justified. As you know, systemic inequity continues to keep those with lower paying positions low and refuses to acknowledge actual real pay adjustments and increases for actual work they're doing, like accurately translating communications, IEPs, and other legal documents. We have also heard comments like they don't have degrees, a formal education, if you will. Again, systemic inequity is the continuation of paying people less because they don't hold a degree, even though they are doing the actual work now without the degree. Having a degree doesn't make you better or more deserving of higher pay. It certainly does not equate to you being able to provide a high-level professional service. Let me remind everyone, our classified members, many of whom do not possess a degree, continue to show up day after day during the largest public health crisis of our time. COVID exposed a lot of failings in this country. It also exposed a lot of amazing things, like those in service who continue to work each and every day, classified members who kept this district open, running, and fulfilling the WUSD promise. That is professionalism. Another example of systemic inequality or inequity is that the district has to have a certain matrix to justify higher pay. And somehow if the district doesn't feel the work is complex enough, or if we can't provide an exactly matched job description comparison, the district will not compensate the classification any higher. One example is this, that we're trying to reclass a member who's been doing travel coordination for the district for several years now. This is not just approving a travel request. This is booking flights, hotels, reimbursements, etc. Prior to her doing the work, a multitude of other members were sharing these same travel coordination duties. Those members who are doing the same work are in a much higher range than the current reclass member. They are actually 7 ranges higher. Systemic inequity is that our member, who is now coordinating travel for hundreds of employees, is in this district, is somehow not deserving of a range that is comparable to those who were previously sharing the duties and responsibility. So basically, the district is saying we are effectively willing to add new duties to lower ranges and not compensate them adequately because they are in such a low range to begin with that increasing a couple of steps is actually some sort of win for this employee. And therefore, the district have benefited them enough. This argument is fundamentally wrong, and why systemic inequity persists. Another example for classified members in this district is paid training for only some employees. Yes, you heard me correctly. Paid training does not apply to all now. This week, the district is offering paid opportunities for after-school trainings. Trainings such as Breathe for Change and Didn't Make It to Super Saturday PD. Well, I did, and I have tons to share. All these trainings are great opportunities for professional development. And we were actually shared across the district, so all of our classified members are acutely aware of these trainings. At the same time, though, a mandatory training came. However, this was only for classified, and currently, it was unpaid. It was scheduled by the district after our members' workday, and because it is mandatory or required, in some of our job descriptions, employees felt that they had to attend. Classified should be so happy and thankful that the district organized this training, even though they will be there on their own time. Here's the thing, and this is another blatant inequity. Some of our lowest paid employees are being provided mandatory training that in the past was paid, but now are being denied compensation without a justifiable reason. Did I mention that this training is for first aid certification to learn life-saving protocols such as CPR? We want to be respected. We deserve to be respected. In the past, this training was not only provided by the district, but it was scheduled, and all staff was encouraged to attend, even those whose job description does not require the first aid training. I did it in 2019. Imagine the inequitable message the district is sending to its employees. This week, professional learning training opportunities and an optional and compensated training called Breathe for Change, or a mandatory and uncompensated training that could literally save a child or another staff member's life. You all understand that working outside of one's contracted day interrupts a life in a multitude of different ways. My members told me they had to choose between their own adult education classes, child care, and or their second job, which many have. Again, we aren't asking for anything the district is not already providing to others. This is systemic inequity, and we are done accepting it. We want to close by saying that the SEIU Local 99 strike is a powerful reminder of the importance of classified members. They are hardworking employees that enable schools to operate each and every day. This strike is complex. It is about correcting historical and systemic inequities and inequalities that persist in LA Unified. In addition to adequate pay increases, union leaders in the district have said that retaliation has come to team members for their part in negotiating. I want to end with this. Participating in your union is a protected activity, and workers have that right. We want to remind everyone, we have that right. We hope that this district begins to take real steps to counter systemic inequity here and respect our labor rights. Those who stand up here advocating, like me, for the betterment of our members deserve to be respected as well. Thank you for your time.
Thank you, Vice President Pagano-Turn. And that now takes us to our public comments. And before I have a statement I'm going to read, but before I do that, I want to briefly touch on time. Public comments go 20 minutes. And at this time, do we have 9? Am I correct on that? Okay. So I know everybody's been here a long time, and I want to honor all of your time and having you all speak. And so if I could ask maybe 2.5 minutes, if you try to keep it to 2.5 minutes, then we can get through all 9. And I'd rather do that than not have somebody speak. So that is my ask when you come up. What do you think about that? Sound fair instead of cutting anybody off? Okay. All right, so I'm going to read this as we get ready, and our first public comment will be John Stauffer, and then we have Lisa Menendez. Okay, as a reminder, at our regular board meeting held on February 9th, 2023, the board resolved that written public comments received by 3 p.m. on the day of the meeting will be provided to the board and recorded in the meeting minutes, but not read into the record during the meeting. Members of the public may address the board on the topics of the board agenda during every meeting. In addition, during regular meetings, the public may also address any topic within the jurisdiction of the board. Please know the board is listening to your comments, but by law cannot meaningfully respond in this forum to items not on the agenda. The board may limit the total time for public input to 20 minutes, unless it waives the item limit. Individual speakers may be limited to 3 minutes to comment on any topic. The board respects the rights of members of the public to speak regarding matters within its jurisdiction. However, please recognize that comments regarding students other than the speaker's own children made during public board meeting may be a violation of the student's right to privacy, and thus the speaker may be legally liable. If you reference a student's name other than your own student, you may be deemed out of order. Furthermore, it's important for the public to understand that negative or derogatory comments made against district employees or others, even those made in a public board meeting, may be actionable civil defamation. Although the board may not prohibit such comments, board policy allows the public to lodge complaints against district employees, providing more opportunity to be heard than is allowed under the open meeting laws that govern this meeting. Okay, and again, thank you all for being here and giving your time this evening. And so Don Stauffer, come on up.
Good evening. It's nice to see all of you. I'm speaking as someone who taught many years in this district and also as a union leader who represented its educators. As public school teachers, we have very little control over who walks into our classroom on the first day of school. But we do whatever we can to make our classrooms a welcoming and safe place for all of our students, no matter their needs or situations. Sometimes that means calling students by a name that is not in the official roll book, or referring to them by a gender that is also different than what is listed. This also means, as teachers, that we sometimes feed students, provide them with clothing or other personal resources, sometimes allow sleepy students an opportunity to put their heads down and sleep a little bit. We also protect them from bullies or provide a shoulder for them, and I can go on. Students don't always magically show up in class ready and prepared to learn. They are complex human beings, and they bring all of that with them when they come to school. They are still learning to navigate this confusing, complicated, and sometimes overwhelming thing we call life. And as we as teachers have to be there for them. Much of what we do is not written in our contracts. It is not part of the state standards or approved curricula, nor is it reflected in the tests that districts are required to give every year. but is part of what teachers do. To those accused of recruiting, you know very little about what it means to be LGBTQ+. To those accused of grooming, you know very little about what goes on in a real classroom. You say it's parents' responsibility? Great, then take responsibility. As a teacher, I so much wanted more parent participation, but in many cases, we're the only responsible adults that students see in their day. Parents are sometimes deceased or otherwise gone. They may be incarcerated. They may be consumed by addictions or by their own emotional or psychological demons. Or they may be working 3 jobs to keep a roof over their families' heads. Or in some cases, parents may be so filled with fear, hate, and misinformation.
I'm sorry to interject, Mr. Stouffer, but that's the 2.5 minutes.
Okay. That they present a danger to their children. And it's not about blame. It's about teachers being there for our kids, and thank you for your support.
Thank you. Lisa Menendez, and then we have Candace Newman.
Good evening. I'm here as a WSD parent and a pediatrician for many WSD families in support of the LGBTQIA members of our community. I'd also like to applaud the demonstrated leadership and commitment of the school board and Superintendent Hildreth to ensure that each of our schools is a safe place for all of our students. The ability to feel safe physically and psychosocially is essential to the health, well-being, and development of youth. This is especially crucial for LGBTQIA youth who often experience social stigma in the form of family disapproval, bullying or physical violence by peers, and media exposure to discriminatory social policies and legislation in different parts of our country. Feelings of isolation and marginalization put them at risk for negative health outcomes, including increased rates of drug and alcohol use, anxiety, depression, and suicide. And the statistics on suicide among LGBTQIA youth are just heartbreaking. According to the Trevor Project, a national research group that provides free, confidential, 24/7 crisis support to LGBTQIA youth, 1.8 million seriously consider suicide each year. Almost half of all LGBTQIA youth considered suicide in the last year, up from the year before. And at least one attempt suicide every 45 seconds. That means by the time that my 3 minutes are up here at this podium, 4 youth in this country will have attempted suicide. Protecting these kids means creating spaces in our community, from home to school to doctor's offices, in which they feel comfortable being their true selves. Access to safe spaces can be life-saving. Many of my pediatric colleagues and I wear this rainbow pin on our white coats and have signs posted in our exam rooms to let our patients know that we are safe spaces for them. But they only see me on average once a year. School is where they spend 5 days a week, almost 10 months out of the year. So it's imperative they have access to safe spaces where they spend most of their time, particularly those who do not have support elsewhere. LGBTQIA students in schools with groups like Gay Straight Alliances are less likely to experience mistreatment, unexcused absences, drug and alcohol use, depression, and suicide than those in schools without these groups. They provide access to supportive peers and an opportunity for self-discovery and self-expression. They contribute to a positive school climate overall, promoting awareness and acceptance among other students in the entire community. For our youth to thrive in our schools, in our community, they need to feel safe socially, emotionally, and physically, and well supported. Thank you.
Thank you. Candace Newman, and then after we have Dawn Penderson.
Good evening, esteemed board and Dr. H. Nice to see you. I've got my mom hat on tonight, so in case it's, you got the mom hat, you got the teacher hat. It's kind of they're all there, but mostly the mom hat this evening. I have 3 beautiful children, and I would say that raising them is arguably the most important work I will do in my life. It is something my husband and I can't do on our own, though. We've heard that it takes a village, and I just want to say I'm grateful that part of my village is Elkhorn Village. My son has had so many amazing teachers And as a volunteer and former substitute teacher, I have also had the privilege to get to know some of the teachers that he will have. They work tirelessly to meet the needs of the whole child. Academic needs, of course, but also social emotional needs, snacky needs, feminine hygiene needs, and more. I am so comforted to know that my own children will have access to other trusted adults in case anything ever arises that they don't feel comfortable talking about with me. The world is changing very rapidly, and I think it's important for children to have trusted sources of information, especially with the internet out there, because there's tons of information that may or may not be great. For all of these reasons, I am so grateful to hear that there are clubs that serve as a safe place for our LGBTQ plus students. They're so important. I want to give my public and full support of these clubs and the dedicated educators that sponsor and lead them. And I'm also very grateful to know that this board supports them. I also want to say that I'm grateful for the mental health supports that my son specifically has received at his school. COVID was rough on everybody, and I've heard from so many different parents that our students are struggling. And I know of like concrete examples of things that our school is doing to benefit him. So I just want to say thank you. I appreciate those services, and please more. So thank you very much, and I'll see the rest of my time.
Thank you. Don Penderson, and then we have Anna Domek.
Good evening. I'm Dawn Peterson, and I have a 7th grader at Bridgeway Island School. I'd like to add my voice in support of LGBTQ plus student clubs. It's crucial for schools to create an environment where all students feel safe and supported regardless of their sexual orientation or gender identity. LGBTQ plus clubs can provide a sense of community and acceptance for students who may otherwise feel isolated or marginalized. These clubs can also promote education, understanding, and awareness of LGBTQ plus issues, helping to reduce discrimination and foster acceptance. Supporting the formation and continuation of LGBTQ plus clubs in schools promotes a more welcoming and inclusive school culture and has a positive impact on the mental health and well-being of our LGBTQ plus students. Thank you.
Thank you. So Anna Domek, and then we have Karen Zanato.
My name's Anna, and I'm a Washington Unified parent of 2. We are here actually speaking on behalf tonight, though, of the River City Democratic Club of West Sacramento.
Good evening. I'm Dee Oliveris, a proud member of the LGBTQ community and vice president of the River City Democratic.
So I'm going to just read our statement that we put out for everyone tonight. So the River City Democratic Club is aware of dehumanizing public comments about the LGBTQ plus community at 2 Washington's Unified School District meetings. This fits in with a broader pattern of increasing hate speech, crimes, and anti-LGBTQ plus legislation across the country. As a club, we strongly condemn those remarks and urge our Washington Unified School District trustees to make certain that strong safeguards are in place to ensure LGBTQ plus students have every available opportunity to find the loving support from their peers that they may not be getting at home. Confidential membership in school clubs targeted to LGBTQ plus kids is crucial. If a child is not ready to come out to a family or has a family that isn't accepting, they can be part of a community that may ease feelings of loneliness. Directly from the Trevor Project's website, which Lisa, thank you for introducing earlier, many LGBTQ youth lack access to affirming spaces, with only 55% of LGBTQ youth reporting that their school is LGBTQ affirming, and only 37% say that their home is LGBTQ affirming. Fewer than 1 in 3 transgender and non-binary youth found their home to be gender affirming, and a little more than half, 51%, found their school to be affirming. The Trevor Project's research consistently finds that LGBTQ people report lower rates of attempting suicide when they have access to LGBTQ plus affirming spaces. The River City Democratic Club stands strongly with our LGBTQ student population and those educators to create the safe spaces they need to grow and thrive. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Next, we have Karen Zanato, and then we'll have Dr. Amber Bradley.
Good evening, President Kirby Gonzalez, trustees, Superintendent Hildreth. I listened to the public comments from the last 2 school board meetings, and to say I was disappointed would be a gross understatement. I came tonight not only as a member of the executive board of the River City Democratic Club, but also as the mother of 2 children. I'm strongly in support of LGBTQIA+ students having access to resources, including but not limited to clubs where they can find a community of acceptance that they may be lacking at home. I found a school climate report that gave some statistics on the positive impact of gay-straight alliances and gender and sexuality alliances in schools. Students that have these alliances in their schools were less likely to hear homophobic remarks at school, either often or frequently. They were less likely to hear negative remarks about gender expression. They were less likely to hear negative remarks often or frequently about transgender people. They were more likely to report that school personnel intervened when hearing homophobic remarks and negative remarks about gender expression. They were less likely to feel unsafe regarding their sexual orientation, gender expression, and gender. They experienced lower levels of in-person victimization related to sexual orientation, gender expression, and gender. And they were more likely to report having many supportive school staff and more accepting peers in general. They reported better psychological well-being than students in schools without gay-straight alliances, higher levels of self-esteem, lower levels of depression, and a lower likelihood of having seriously considered suicide in the past year. Even if you set aside the overwhelming increase in the socio-emotional well-being of the students affected, the net benefit to the district is also positive. These students were less likely to have missed school in the past month because of feeling unsafe or uncomfortable, and they felt greater belonging to their school community, performed better academically in school, and were more likely to plan on pursuing post-secondary education. So overall, I hope the district continues to support and reach out to the community if we can support you as well. Thank you.
Thank you. We have Dr. Amber Bradley, and then we have Colin Mallett.
It doesn't let me do 2.5, so I'll stop you when it's 30 seconds left. Is that okay?
That's fine. Good evening, board members. In case we haven't had the opportunity to meet yet, I'm Dr. Amber Bradley, a government teacher at River City High School. I'm also a member of the executive board for WSTA, and I've been serving in the district since 2016. First, I would like to acknowledge Jackie Wong for attending Sac City Unified ceremony to raise the transgender flag at their district office on Monday. Sac City Unified passed the Trans Day of Visibility Resolution number 3310 last Thursday. Jackie was in attendance as they formally recognized and celebrated transgender people, proudly displaying their support of trans students. Today, I urge you all to draft and support a measure like this in our district. March 31st is International Transgender Day of Visibility, a day for us to recognize the contributions trans folks have made in our society and acknowledge the discrimination they still face. We should be waving the trans flag high at our district office and at each school site in West Sacramento. On January 10th, I was one of 3 teachers who presented at our Professional Development Day. I presented data on how to support our lesbian, gay, bisexual, trans, queer, intersex, asexual, and two-spirit students. At this workshop, I presented the data on the LGBTQ people in the United States as well as our district. Data shows that anywhere between 10 and 20% of people in the United States identify as LGBTQ. And I'm a scholar, so I'm going to bring you the statistics about our district. If we take the conservative side, that's approximately 800 students and 50 teachers in Washington Unified that identify as LGBTQ. At River City, I teach about 100 kids per day. That means about 10 to 11 of my kids are queer kids. That means my elementary colleagues, about 2 to 3 of their kids every day are queer kids. We need to support these students. On average, 42% of LGBTQ students will seriously contemplate suicide. That's 336 WUSD students who will seriously contemplate suicide. 336 of our kids. 1 in 3 LGBTQ students come from unsupportive homes. That's 240 of our kids come from unsupportive homes. So when others come up and comment that these issues need to be addressed at home, we must recognize our privilege and understand that not everyone comes from a home where these issues can be addressed. We must prioritize the safety of queer children over the discomfort of adults who should know better. Not only should we be supporting these students in their optional after-school activities, but we should also ensure that these children feel safe, loved, and supported in our classrooms. Support for these students is a school safety issue. Supporting LGBTQ students is life-saving work. I want to thank every teacher who creates a safe space in their classroom, every teacher who gives up time to support these kids and advises these clubs. You are saving lives. WSD Board, it's time to do your part. Thank you.
Thank you. Next, we have Colin Malik, and then we'll have James Dawson.
Two and a half.
Yep. Honk. Honk, honk. April 26th through May 6th, I came up here and talked about it last. I've reached out to a couple board members already. Please come out. I'm very excited for it. Please come support the VAPA. I was able to join my colleagues this weekend for some amazing collaboration on gender and ethnic studies. I brought back a gem. I'm just super excited for ethnic studies. I know that will be coming down the pipeline, California in 2029, from something that's near and dear to my heart, which is China and Chinatown, specifically San Francisco, and the connection to moving away from discriminatory housing practices and providing more equitable spaces and places for elderly populations, specifically of Chinese nature and origin and heritage. And I'm really excited about this work. I do have to point out tonight continued encouraging communication between the district as well as staff and teachers on site. There's still too many breakdowns. I'd pause for dramatic effect, but I've been cut off and have 30 seconds less than I normally have. We've asked for twice budget for community schools, still waiting. 16 out of 2,100 divided is 0.7. 5 out of 2,100 is less than 0.7. What does that number matter for? Because that's less than 1%. And if you look on the community schools reports, that's the about amount of parents and students who were involved in the communication process that showed up to meetings. Less than 1% is a pretty good house average if you're a casino, not if you are trying to engage community schools. Codify Washington Middle College High School language. I've had this conversation before and coming back around to it that there is no contract for Washington Middle College High School, that they kind of operate in the blind and on good faith under the guise of a dependent charter school. I encourage the cabinet to reach out rather than wait for a demand to bargain on language with labor. Their contract and their days and calendar years are different than ours. I frequently am running into questions and concerns where I don't have an answer as the grievance chair for WSTA. There is no codified language. We should codify that language. A value add, I do give a little shout out to HR. I appreciate the collaboration with Catastrophic Leave Bank. The appreciation is valued, and HR has been super willing to help with that. Finally, SEIU 99 in solidarity.
Thank you. And now we have James Dawson.
Thank you, trustees and superintendents. I'm here as a YOLO teacher. I have two of my colleagues here. I just wanted to thank President Knepp for his comments on YOLO. I can validate everything he said, and I hope there is a plan of corrective action being implemented. If there isn't, there certainly needs to be. The real reason I came, though, was to speak on the LGBT issue. As a social studies teacher, and I just followed 2 other great social studies teachers in this district, it is a prime importance. We all lived through the history of the last few years, and we've seen this, dangerous ideology spread out, and it's incumbent upon us to counter it. I would characterize this ideology as going from, fear and prejudice all the way over to hatred and lies. And what can we do about that? We can show leadership. We can provide safety for our students. Every student deserves to be recognized and supported. And we can do this through the fact that we're educators and leaders and role models. And we can counter, we can counter lies with the truth. We can counter fear with kindness and love, and we can counter prejudice with education. Thank you very much. I appreciate it.
Thank you. That takes us through all of our public comment, and I want to recognize
I just want to say thank you to the River City Democratic Club, as well as the parents that came out tonight in support of our LGBTQ plus community and students. So it's very important that what you did. So thank you.
There will be a Transgender Visibility Day resolution on our next board agenda. It was not on this board agenda because we needed to make some adaptations to fit our district, but that will be here on the next meeting. And I would like to thank our staff, our teachers, our administrators for ensuring that Washington Unified School District is a safe place. And I would like to thank our community. As a mom, we're all parents here in the district as well. And as a community member, I'm grateful to live in this community with you all. And you are the reason I choose to live here, and it's an honor to serve. Thank you. Okay, that takes us to our next piece, which is our information, public hearing, which we do not have one of. So that now takes us to our information discussion items. We have our Washington Unified School District 2023 Summer Program Overview, and that is with Stephanie Grote. But I think welcoming up, we have our Interim Superintendent, Dr. Ann Zeman.
And thank you very much for entertaining this program update. And Ms. Stephanie Grote.
Thank you. And this is very timely because we all stepped outside today to recognize that there was sun shining after many days of rain. So thank you. Good evening, President Kirby Gonzalez, board members, Dr. Hildreth, cabinet, audience members. Thank you for being here this evening. We are excited to share with you as an informational item what we have planned for the summer with our summer programs. So in looking at the purpose, really we wanted to share the collaborative process for the summer program planning. You're going to see slides that have many names on them. It truly is a collaborative process in making sure that we have the information that we need for the summer, as well as share and highlight some of the planned programs, and then discuss the next steps. Thank you. So in looking at the alignment to the strategic plan, you will see many green checks here. There is so much offered this summer, from enrichment to academics, through our ELOP program, our Extended Learning Opportunity Program that Rahele Adabaki presented a couple of board meetings ago. We'll touch on that. It really does look at all of the goals for student success and meeting the needs of our students, as well as our academic needs, our social emotional, our professional development for our staff is woven in there with our EL and our DI summer institutes. So we're just really excited to share all of this information with you. Next slide. Again, looking at all of our pillars, our equitable teaching and learning, our strong partnerships. You'll see those on the board meeting with our ELOP contracts as well. Looking at our growth opportunities and that professional development, and then ensuring that we do invite all of our students to the programs. Thank you. So in looking at our summer programs planning, next slide. this is really a timeline, and it's hard to believe that we began planning in August of 2022. And what that looked like was as we ended our summer, 2022, we wanted to gather all of that information and look at what went well. And you heard a lot of those successes with what had occurred over the summer, the student growth, looking at that data, and then also look at how can we refine that? How can we make it better and make sure that we are meeting the needs of the students and the staff? And then, of course, we had additional funding come in, so we want to make sure that we're tying it all together. Two of the main things that came out from that debrief was really looking at two things, making sure that when we planned, we included all team members that needed to be in that planning. Sometimes we have great ideas and we may not think of how it affects another department, so we wanted to make sure we had everyone in the room. It's a virtual room right now. And then we also wanted to start earlier. So you can see in January, we started meeting and we had a discussion, and we meet every 2 weeks. So thank you to everyone who comes every 2 weeks. We are here now in March presenting this information to you. Through March and June, we'll continue with the planning, including the hiring of the staff, making sure that we have students enrolled, and then we want to make sure that it's a successful program. And then we begin in June. Next slide. So in talking about that summer collaboration, this is a list of the educational services staff that was part of that collaboration meeting. So it is a long list, but also in recognizing that it's not all educational services, our department. Next slide. You will see on this slide, we have our business services, our human resources, and our site administrators. Again, having those conversations where everyone is there, where we're like, oh, we want to add this program or we want to add this class, being able to have that conversation about what does transportation look like? Can we provide transportation? How does this impact other programs that are on the site? Really help to have everyone there together. Fine. So this is the fun part, looking at what we plan to offer for summer. So you have heard things about our summer EL, dual immersion and extended school year institute. So we often abbreviate this to EL/DI/ESY Institute, for those of us who live in acronyms. The program really does look to support the academic development for students. We look at our students who are invited to this program based upon a variety of things, including their scores on their LPAC, their assessment of language proficiency, as well as teacher and parent recommendation. Our ESY are students that have this, our extended school year, written into their IEPs. The program runs from June 5th through the 30th. And what's interesting about this is that we also have pre-service days, and the teachers receive professional development. It is based upon a keystone species. And I will say we do have Carla Salvo here. Stacy Tran was not able to be here, but she wants to make sure that we know that it is Jaguars this year. So they're excited in doing the planning for that. The location for this program is at Riverbank. They're looking at between about 350 students. As well as our newcomers, as well as our LPAC levels 1 and 2, and then also our dual immersion families, students, and then our extended school year. Next slide. Our River City High School programs, it's very exciting to look at the opportunities for our River City High School students. It's several programs, so they're looking at not only credit recovery, but enrichment opportunities through a variety of maybe VAPA classes that are offered, looking at units that way, as well as the My Journey to College Summer Bridge, which is helping being funded through a grant. So we look at students that are coming in. All students who are 9th graders transitioning into River City are invited for this program, as well as offering a newcomer EL summer program to help those students transition and to build their skills as well. This one also runs during the month of June. They have teacher pre and service days. This is at River City High School. And it's really, again, looking at offering a variety of programs to our students. Yolo High School is also offering a program this summer, and this is really looking at to recover those credits. And looking at not only the credit recovery piece, but also the enrichment part of students who need credits, providing it through Ingenuity as well as through in-person instruction to ensure that those students are ready to move on into action and to graduate. That also is running during the month of June. Our Camp Yampa is back. This is one that is, we've heard quite a bit about. I think Mr. Hanks came and presented as well. This is our, looking at our media and entertainment. They do have a community showcase at the end. This one runs a little bit different and runs from June 14th through July 7th. It's at the Bright campus, and this is for all of our 5th through 8th graders, as well as this really is supported through our home run interns. So bringing back that community partner piece, this program is very successful because of that partnership. Our Native Education also offers a cultural enrichment and activities that occur during the summer program. This one is a shorter program where it's 2 weeks of enrichment activities, and then there's various field trips as well as opportunities for our high school students to partner with other Native students in the area. They do college tours, and so those field trips are currently being filtered out. We will make sure we work with transportation so that we have that transportation available to those students. Next slide. Our Expanded Learning Opportunities, or ELOP, summer, it's really, the primary goal is to expand those learning opportunities, both academic support, enrichment, and those connections. This one is actually looking at June 5th through August 11th. So although this is not the traditional summer school, as we've talked about previously, this is a program that's occurring over the summer. Our students that are attending the program, such as at Riverbank, will have the opportunity to begin in the ELOP, go to their summer program, and then extend their day. I know Ryan Carroll and Rahale have done an excellent job in making sure that students have this opportunity. It will run currently at 3 sites: Riverbank, Southport, Stonegate, and Bridgeway Island. And then, of course, it's open to all TK through 6th grade students, and then 7th through 8th grade if there is space available, and priority given to those students who qualify. Next steps. Thank you. So that is a lot, and as you can imagine, lots of many moving parts. I want to commend the team. We have color-coded maps. We have just a wide variety of spreadsheets that we've gone through. Our HR department and looking at what are the staff needs. Do we need to have additional staff? Do we need to look at how can we combine? How can we support the school sites? What do we need to do differently? But we're really excited to offer these opportunities to our students. We will continue meeting, which is fun. We'll also look at advertising. So I met with Yorgos the other day to talk about what needs to go up on our webpage. As far as invitations to students, some of the programs are by invitation only, and so they are ready to roll out with interest. This is whether it be in an IEP or you have been invited to participate in this summer program. That information will go out with our ELOP program. In case you haven't heard, we have the spring break one coming up. So we're going to wait, and then the information will go out after because we don't want to confuse families. Lots of moving part. We're super excited. So with that, I thank you. We do have lots of members who are part of the team here that can answer specific questions about programs too, if not. So thank you.
Okay, thank you. I don't see any public comments, am I correct? All right, then I'll bring it to board questions or comments. Okay, Trustee Pizzotti?
So thank you for the presentation. I appreciate it. I'm trying to figure out how this works exactly. Do we have like a number of people identified already, like a ballpark number of how many, and then we go and hire accordingly, or do we hire as many as we can, and then, the cutoff is, based on what we have capacity?
So in regard to the specific programs for, I can talk about ELDI, because those we looked at the data first, and it is very data rich. Oh, here we come. I have backup. I feel like I have backup. We got backup. So we actually look at the.
Wow, they're just all
Look
coming
at this. Would someone else like to join? So really looking at what are the numbers of the anticipated students who would qualify for those programs, and that's how we determine the staffing. And then there were what they're called halves. So the reports have been submitted of the staffing that we are looking at. And HR has been great, recognizing that we want our Washington Unified School District staff to have that opportunity, but we are also prepared if we need to look at employees that are not currently employed, so that, we can get them for next year.
Gotcha. Thank you. That's all I have.
Did my backup want to add anything?
You are a rock star group. I can see why you like meeting every week, because I would want to
Every
be with
2
you.
weeks.
Oh, every
2
two.
weeks.
Oh, sorry. I just added to your. This is so, just as last time when you shared, it's phenomenal. In a neighboring district recently, I heard in terms of, for example, their younger kids, elementary, they said, oh, we're not doing a summer school this year, and unless legally we have to for minutes. But it was, I've never heard that in all my career. And here, I see what we're doing, and we're not just doing the bare minimum. You're all doing so much more, and it's just such a gift. I'll share what some families have told me, and that would be that when you're signing up for the expanded learning opportunity and you do click, because we of course want to have our priority students that we're trying to meet the needs of. Absolutely, we give priority. But that it might dissuade people that when you're clicking, here are the priorities. If you don't meet those, you might think that you can't apply. So maybe just if we can make sure it says a little line or something.
So I actually talked to that parent, and we discussed adding another option where they could explain their situation.
Okay.
And we are really, really hoping that every single Washington Unified student will be able to attend at this point. So no worries. Everyone should apply.
All right. And then I understand waiting until after spring break. I hear you on that, because there's the other camps, so they're not confused. What should we know as we communicate to the public on when they can think of the application coming, as they're looking at summer opportunities or getting anxious about childcare or whatever it might be? When should we tell them that will come?
The week we return.
Just a week. Okay, perfect. Okay. All right.
I heard there were flyers in the making.
Perfect. And do you know if that will come through on district email, school email, maybe all of the above for them?
And as well as posted on our social media.
Okay, perfect. Thank you. This is, what a gift. Thank you. I appreciate it. All right. All good? All right. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
All right. And that now takes us to the consent agenda. As a reminder, item F was removed. Can I get a motion? Not a lot of options, so.
I'll move the consent agenda.
All right, so moved by trustee Pizzotti.
Second.
Seconded by clerk Coffey. All in favor?
Aye.
And I too vote aye. And that now takes us to our action items. We have the approval of the second interim financial report for the fiscal year 2022-2023 with Monique Stovall, our Assistant Superintendent of Business Services. Welcome.
Good evening. I am joined with our Director of Fiscal Services, Billy Duba, to present to you all this evening our second interim financial report. Next slide. So the purpose of this presentation is, as we shared, to share our second interim financial report for approval. We'll share, of course, the legal requirements, core messages, second interim summary, talk about our multi-year projections, and then discuss our next steps. Next slide. We always want to make sure that we're taking that moment to show alignment to our strategic plan. As this deals with finances, and our finances support all that we do, this presentation, we believe, aligns with every pillar and every part and every goal within our strategic plan. Next slide. And then, of course, it also aligns with all of the priorities. Next. We always show the circle. And so we are at our second to last part of our annual budget cycle, which is our second interim report. Next slide. The legal requirements. The second interim report are finalized on March 15th, and it's for the period ending January 31st. So it's a little further back, but it basically gives us a status update of what I like to say the second quarter in our fiscal year. We ask for approval from you, our governing board, and then we also have it reviewed by our County Office of Education, and then it is submitted to the Superintendent of Public Instruction. Next slide. So let's talk about our core messages in our financial report. As we shared in our previous report, there are 3 certifications, and we must certify our budget as either positive, qualified, or negative. Positive indicates that we believe, based upon our projections, that we will meet our financial obligations for this year and the subsequent 2 years. Qualified means that we may not meet our financial obligations for the current year or the 2 subsequent fiscal years. And negative is that we believe that we would be unable to meet our financial obligations this year or the next couple years. Thankfully, we continue to recommend certifying this budget as positive. Next slide. Core messages, we want to keep emphasizing our changing enrollment. In January, we certified our enrollment for this year. And when I say we certified, it is the official enrollment for our school year. We certified that at 7,272. It's higher than what we were thinking at the first interim, and even higher than what we thought had adopted. However, we are anticipating about a 4% decline in enrollment, namely due to a decline in birth rates in our city, and then also in California as a whole, and then also looking at historical trends. Next month, we will have an enrollment study session to be able to do a deep dive into enrollment that's affecting our district, but also taking a look at the development within our area, within our community, that might affect enrollment in the coming years. Next slide. Our Washington Middle College High School, who we got to hear a lot about today, we are seeing a steady enrollment in essence for the next couple years. As they shared today, they are making efforts to try to increase that enrollment, and of course we'll adjust our projections as we move forward and as things begin to align. Here we wanted to talk about ADA, our average daily attendance. About 90% of our students attend school each day, and that's about the same that we're projecting for our district. Just a reminder, we're funded on the number of students who attend school every day. Next slide. So our second interim report, Billy will provide a summary.
Hi, good evening. Next slide, please. Okay, our unrestricted budget review. Here's a couple of highlights. Our revenue changes include a decreased projection in revenue because we're projecting less average daily attendance. Our expenses, we reconciled our position control, so we increased our salary and benefits. Utility costs continue to increase, so we incorporated those in our new budget. A couple other changes, the ESSER 3, or elementary and secondary school emergency relief projects, we set a budget for most of those. And then the board-approved commitment of $1 million for the strategic plan implementation budget was set up. Next slide. For numbers, this is what that looks like. Since the first interim, the period that ended in October through second interim, now projecting from the end of January, we are now showing a decrease in revenue of $164,000, and we are projecting our expenses to increase by $2.2 million since our projections in October, which gives our surplus $2.4 million lower. So we're now at $12.4 million. Once we incorporate the total other sources, which are our contribution to the restricted side and our transfers out to other funds, our decrease in our fund balance is now about $5.7 million. Next slide, Mario. Restricted budget review. For revenue, we set up some revenue changes for the Expanded Learning Opportunity Program and the Learning Recovery Emergency Block Grant. We also set up expenses for those funds. We have an increase in expenses for our students receiving special services, and we also reconciled the position control on that side of our budget. Next slide, Mario. The numbers for that, we are now showing an increase in revenue of $730,000, and our expenses, we are showing an increase of $387,000, which changes our surplus to $342,000, an increase over first interim to second interim. Our contribution to the unrestricted side has increased by $170,000, giving us a net increase in the restricted fund balance to $512,000. Next slide, please. Looking at the unrestricted fund balance, our beginning balance, of course, remains the same, but our ending fund balance now is at $12.3 million, a decrease of $2.6 million since first interim. Next slide, please. All right, now we're going to look at the multi-year projection. Next slide. A couple of considerations we took when we made the multi-year projection. We incorporated enrollment changes, and as Ms. Stovall just said, we're showing a decrease now based on birth rates decreasing in our community. We also took in consideration a lot of the changes from the governor's January budget. We have a lot of one-time revenue that is now starting to expire, so we had to incorporate changes in personnel and other costs that were funded by those one-time revenues. We had to move them to the general fund, and we considered some of the commitments that we've made and will be making in the future. Next slide, please. As far as the numbers go, revenues, we are now showing in current year about $93.9 million in revenue. Next year, we expect that to be $99.4 million, and in 24-25, that'll go up to $99.8 million. Our expenses are also increasing, $81.5 million this year, $82 million next year, and $85.3 million in 24-25. The difference in the revenue and expenses is our surplus. So this year we're looking at $12.4 million. Next year we should have a surplus of $17.3 million, and in 24-25, $14.4 million. Once we factor in our other financing, we show a decrease in fund balance in the current year by the $5.7 million. Next year, we'll decrease our fund balance by $263,000, and in 24-25, we'll decrease the fund balance by $1.5 million, giving us the ending balances of $12.3 million this year, $12 million next year, and in 24-25, we expect our ending fund balance to be $10.9 million. Next slide, Mario.
So we also wanted to take a little note to talk about the fluctuations in the revenue and then also the expenses. So you'll see in 2023-24, the increase in revenue that's namely due to the projected 8% increase in COLA. We did speak at our budget study session that because we have declining enrollment, we're not going to receive the 8%, but we are going to receive something. So that's our increase in our funding there. And then in 24-25, we did begin putting in some of the expenses related to the expiring one-time money. So as those funds start to expire, right now we've put them in the budget, but it's something that we'll have to evaluate as we move a bit forward. I also wanted to speak a little bit about our ending fund balance, where this year, and we're at second interim, and a lot actually changes between now and our estimated actuals, which comes in June, and then our unaudited actuals, which comes in September. Right now, we see a 6.85%. As a reminder, and Billy will share this on the next slide, you all have identified that we need to put back in our reserves for economic uncertainties, our REUs of 6%. And here we're seeing we're pretty close. We wanted to dig a little bit deeper into that, and that's namely due to, of course, we're having expenses, et cetera. But you all also approved commitments to certain activities for our district. For example, we are contributing money to our OPEB funding, to our deferred maintenance. We identified 1.2 million for, I think it was 1.2 for strategic plan, or $1 million for strategic planning to help us with buses, to help us with a variety of areas within our district that we really wanted to make sure that we concentrated on. And so I wanted to give a little bit of explanation on our ending balance, our expenses, and our revenue.
Thank you. Okay, our reserve for economic uncertainty, 3% is required by law. Governing board has set a minimum of a total of 6%, so the additional 3. For the current year, the 6% REU is about 8.1 million. An average cost of monthly personnel is about 7.5 million, so the REU will cover 1 month of personnel costs and a little bit more. Next slide, sir. Next steps. Well, we're here tonight to request board approval of the second interim report. We'll continue to monitor and refine our budgets. In May, the governor will revise his budget, and we'll incorporate that into next year's budget. And we're working on finalizing next year's budget development. Next slide, sir. Annual budget cycle. So the next time we talk about our budget will be after the governor's May revision, and that's it for this year. Thank you.
Okay. Comments? Oh, do we have, sorry, yes. Do we have any public comments? I don't see any.
No public comment?
Yes. Kibasati.
Let's see. And I think I've been through this a time or two, so I understand the majority of what our budget says. My question one is, when you say we're experiencing a decrease in ADA, are you saying that it's a decrease greater than what we projected? And if so, how much?
Take it. Yeah. We have yet, yes, we are experiencing a lower average daily attendance than we projected. And we are noticing that we have not fully recovered to the ADA that we had prior to COVID. Prior to COVID, about 95% of our students attended school every day. Mm-hmm. Right now, we're about 91, 92%. Billy has shared with me that historically in our district, that, you know, when we get to, it's called our second reporting period for our ADA, we call it P2, we do see that increases, but we don't anticipate that we're going to quite get to that 95% yet. Thankfully, within our district and with the work that Yorgos is doing, we are doing attendance campaigns, which we think are very important for us to invest in and to work with our students and our families and our community so that we can get back up to that ADA.
And then, okay. So I'm curious as to, you know, what our ADA, well, so you're saying our enrollment is less. Our ADA is also less. Do we know where that is in terms of, I'm sure we do. Where are we in terms of actual numbers of how much less, not, because we're always projecting, 100 less or so kids per year. That's what it seems to be tradition. Steadily declining. Do we know how much less than 100 it was this year in terms of actual enrollment?
Are in how much less than last year?
Than our projection, yeah, than our projection. I mean, I'm sure we're going to have, how much less than where we were last year, but based on projections, because our projections where when we look at our budget last year, right? And that's what we make.
Absolutely. So if you can go to the enrollment one with the 3 bars on there. Thankfully, our enrollment this year is higher than we projected by about, I think it's around 70 students, 72 students. We suspect, here we go. So our enrollment is higher than we projected. That's fantastic. However, our average daily attendance, in which we're funded on, is less. So we have to focus on our enrollment, and we need to focus on our attendance.
But that's smooth. The ADA is smooth, isn't it? Over 3 years?
3-year average.
Right. So we're still like, I think I'm having troubles, like how much, what, here I am stuttering. I'm having troubles kind of figuring out, like, we're seeing that much less ADA even with our smoothing of the 3 years.
Can you go to the next slide, please? I think it should, this one.
Yeah.
I think we accidentally skipped over this slide in the presentation.
Oh, okay.
And it's a very, I think, a very valuable slide. We think it is. So this shows in the blue our actual average daily attendance, the actual number of students who attend school every day. The orange is what we're actually funded on.
Okay.
Yes.
Okay.
So about 92, there we go, % of our students attend school every day.
Okay.
And our funding is based on a 3-year average. So thankfully, we have that 3-year average to help us. But remember, 3 years from now, if we work on getting our students to school, that'll help us from having a dip that could be pretty significant in our fund.
And are we hearing anything from, I guess, CSBA or any of the associations, the management associations, that suggest that there's going to be a different kind of smoothing looked at through the legislative process or the budget process?
I'm not hearing as much of that talk as we did last year, specifically funded on enrollment.
Okay.
I'm not hearing that much anymore.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Okay, it is frustrating. I mean, I just called last week for my daughter, by the school nurse. She's been in here twice. Sorry to put her on blast, but she's a very dramatic child, one of my kids. Get there, and she's all smiles, but, she doesn't feel too good. So it is hard because we're still in this mindset of like the sniffles, the this, we COVID tested twice. She was fine with all that, but there's some allergies. And so there's still this little bit of, 10 years ago, drink some water, go back to class, and now I don't want to encourage anyone to send kids sick. I'm absolutely not. I'm just saying that we're still of the mindset of wanting to be very, keep our kids in home for reasons that maybe in the past we would not have. And so I know that affects our ADA. And then I also see people who are of the mindset of, we've had a hard few years, we're going to go on family vacations regularly and pull kids out. And so those are the challenges with the way that we're funded, because we've talked about this many times, it's just an unfair situation. And even as I grapple with it as a mom with kids of, are you sick to go to school or are you okay? Is it allergies or are you sick? And so it's just a challenge that we face. But thank you for all of this. I know we weren't able to do our budget committee because there's been some technology pieces out of your control. Do you envision that we will do that before the board study session? still, or, so we have a board budget study session.
Enrollment.
Okay. Enrollment, demographics.
Yes.
Okay. Which also goes with budget, but okay. And so then separately, we will do our budget committee.
Yes.
Okay.
What we envision, the cadence, which I think will be very valuable for the financial subcommittee, is having the demographic or enrollment and housing study session and being able to take that information, also have more details on what may be coming in the enacted budget to be able to sit down with the subcommittee prior to budget adoption.
Okay. Perfect. Sounds good.
If technology works well in our
Okay.
favor.
Perfect. I look forward to that. Thank you. Okay, then we're good. We can move on to the next part, which you're going to stay on up because it is a 20. Oh, wait, no, hold on. We need to approve this.
Thank you.
President Kirby Gonzalez, sorry
Yes?
to interrupt. There's a public comment request on this item before we.
Oh,
from-
sure, we'll take it. Yes. Hold on, let me go to my correct piece with the budget comment. Yes, Priya, come on up.
So this small comment, like Mr. Wall and we just want to know like the breakdown, like how much of revenue and deficit are we getting for the special education? What is their enrollment rate? So have you done any like breakdown and study? Just want to know if education is staying or because I think the enrollment is increasing for the special education kids, especially at the preschool level. So have you broken it down?
And I'll ask, just our public comments need to come this direction.
I'm so sorry.
And that's okay. It's just on process. And then the board, we can direct staff and ask the question for you. So we hear your question on special education and the breakdown.
Sorry if I didn't use
That's
the right
okay.
word.
No, it's a lot of formality. So thank you. We hear you.
Go back?
Yes. Okay, thank you so much. All right, so we'll come on back up and one, forgive me for moving past it. This is an action item. And two, would you like to, Monique, speak to the special education component for us in terms of the funding piece and maybe in the future that can also be called out?
Absolutely. And we actually have been emailing today about gathering information that we can provide and also hopefully being able to have a conversation about our funding for our students who receive special services. What funding's available. Today I'm hearing also what our enrollment is like, so we can absolutely share that information, and we welcome advocacy to be able to support our students.
Perfect, thank you so much. Okay, and I think that's an important piece because there is, we know that special education funding and services do not always match up, and so I think that's an important part to talk about as we move forward in our next presentation. So, can I get a motion?
I motion.
Okay, so moved by Clerk Coffey,
I'll second.
seconded by Trustee Pizzotti. All in favor?
Aye.
I too vote aye. Okay, now we'll stay up, move on to the 2023-2024 homeschool transportation plan.
Thank you so much. At this moment, I am joined by our transportation supervisor, Angelina Valencia, to be able to, I'm going to try to bring this down for you just a little bit, to present to you for action our home to school transportation plan. Just as a reminder, at our last meeting on March 9th, we did share this plan for information and discussion. You'll see many of the same elements in this presentation, and we felt that that was important just in case there was an audience member who may not have been present at the last meeting, and we just wanted to make sure that we were very transparent with the plan. You'll also see in here our responses to some of the questions that maybe the community had or you had in the presentation.
Thank you, Monique. Good evening. I'm going to apologize ahead of time. Transportation rises early, so it's been a long day. Okay, so the purpose of tonight's presentation is to represent Washington Unified School District's 2023-2024 Home to School Transportation Plan, as well as I will be answering the questions from the March 9th board meeting. Okay. Next slide, please. Our Home to School Transportation Plan supports the whole child, healthy, safe, challenged, and supported. It ensures that all students are provided access and opportunity to resources and relevant educational and life experiences for individual success, as well as it supports Pillar D, which is safe, climate, and equitable access for all. Next slide. Thank you. Okay, so this slide here, it goes over the strategic priorities and key actions, but again, Pillar D ensures that every school is safe and welcoming for students, staff, and families with uniform standards of conduct that are fair to all and discipline practices that are equitably enforced, restorative, and eliminate disproportionalities by student group. This slide also provides lots of information from Pillar D for information purposes. Next slide. So now we will review the transportation requirements and funding. Education Code 39800 to 39860 requires home to school transportation for students when the student has an individual education plan, which is known as an IEP, or a 504 accommodation plan requiring transportation, or the student is classified as the McKinney-Vento, which is our Homeless Act. Our transportation department currently supports both. Home to school transportation is not required for other students per the education code, but we do currently transport other students based on the current board policy in place. Next slide, please. Home to school transportation funding. The 2022-2023 enacted state budget increased funding for home to school transportation. This means districts can receive a reimbursement of up to 60% of the prior year's expenses. The governing board must approve a home to school transportation plan by April 1st to receive the reimbursement, and then this must be done annually. Next slide, please. Okay. So our transportation plan requirements. The transportation plan must include priority for planned services for students in grades TK through 6th and low-income students. We do not currently transport TK, but we are definitely exploring our options to be able to do so. And we are currently transporting kindergarten through 6th grade as well. The transportation plan must describe how transportation will be accessible to students with disabilities and homeless youth. We currently support that transportation as well. The transportation plan must describe how unduplicated students may access free transportation. Again, we support and transport most of our unduplicated students, and I'm currently working with Stacy Tran and her team to be able to support our English learners here in our district. And then the transportation plan must also develop in consultation with staff, regional transit authorities, local air pollution control districts, air quality management districts, parents, and students, which we did. Next slide. Okay, with all that information, okay, we're going to go over the actual transportation plan now. So currently our transportation department has 24 bus driver positions, in which 19 of those positions are filled due to our bus driver shortage. Our fleet has 29 buses and 23 routes, and that services all classroom-based schools. We transport roughly about 1,250 students who receive free home to school transportation each day. And last school year, our buses drove 257,557 miles. Next slide. Our board policy provides free transportation for the following students who live within the boundaries of the school they are attending, which here on this slide is our current walking distance for our grade levels. Also, transportation is offered when students are overflowed from their home school, meaning if there's no room at their home school, Ed Services contacts us and we provide transportation to those students at a different school. Next slide. Like I mentioned earlier, free transportation is offered to students who reside within the district boundaries, attend a WSD school, and transportation is designated in their IEP or 504 accommodation plan. And again, we are exploring options to offer transportation to students in transitional kindergarten while complying with safety regulations. I mentioned at our last meeting, students under school age, which is 5 years old, must be transported in a safety equipment. It could be car seats for school buses. Next slide, please. Okay, alternative transportation options. So in addition to transportation through Washington Unified School District, students may take advantage of the Yolo County Transit, which offers the free bus rides for all youth ages 0 to 18 years, or via West Sacramento, which offers free or low-cost transportation. Next slide, please. So, at our last meeting, there were some questions in regards to their guidelines and some specifics about our students being able to utilize the alternative transportation. So I contacted YOLO Bus along with VIA and spoke to some of the representatives. There, again, youth 0 to 18 rides for free here in West Sacramento. The students must arrive 5 minutes early to the stop, which is actually the same guideline for WSD transportation. And they must have their student ID ready and available. Now, according to the representative I spoke with, there is no specific age restriction. Children can ride alone as long as they can load and unload at their stops by themselves. I know. I mean, I asked the question 3 different ways. But really, she said it was up to the parent. You know, that's the parent's call. And then if the driver who's driving that route in the moment, they need to be able to feel safe transporting that student as well. But there is no age restriction.
VIA? That's VIA?
No, this is YOLO Bus.
YOLO Bus, okay.
And then the representative also mentioned that YOLO Bus has real-time bus information and routes, along with schedules available online at yolobus.com. They don't have an app, which I was a little mind blown by, but they said it's super easy to access and navigate online. Next slide, please. Then I spoke with VIA. Their guidelines are students under 13 years old must ride with an adult, and students 13 to 18 years old can book a ride with parent and guardian consent and ride alone. So each ride is $3.50, and an additional rider can be booked at the same time for $1 more. So if a parent needed to take their child to school, they're paying the initial $3.50, and then it's $1 more per child to get to school. But I did learn that VIA has a VIA Pass. It's $15 a week, and it allows up to 4 rides a day for each day of the week. She expressed to me that this is what most of our students who are utilizing VIA pay for. This is what they go with. And then she informed me that students can ride for free as long as their ride starts or ends in the Broderick Bright neighborhoods. She mentioned that a lot of our high schoolers utilize this because the River City campus is in the south side, and a lot of our students come from that Broderick Bright neighborhood. This program is being supported through a grant, which the representative said there is no end date as of right now, but she wanted to be very clear that this is for a limited time. Next slide, please. So when we talk about education partner feedback, WSD staff, parents, guardians, students, and community members were surveyed in English and Spanish. Regional transportation partners provided feedback through direct contact with each partner. Feedback was provided on the following topics per education code, which again is transportation for TK through 6th grade students, transportation for students with disabilities, and free transportation for students unduplicated in our school district. Next slide. So we touched base on this last time. This was some of our survey feedback we had received. It touched on safety, proximity of the bus routes, how long students are on bus routes, and then parents would like to see the 7th and 8th graders be able to utilize that K through 6 walking distance as well, and just being able to provide transportation to all of our students in our district. Next slide, please. So, at the last board meeting, some of the trustees had asked specific questions on who utilizes our school buses. So here on our elementary routes, about 419 students ride our school buses to school. For Gen Ed, West Moroks is our heaviest route, and Riverbank is our lightest route. We only transport WUVA for in-person days, and so that's why I didn't say they were our lightest routes. We actually just recently began transporting those students. They reached out and we were able to support those needs. For our special education students, West Moroks is our heaviest load for kindergarten through 8th, but Elkhorn is right there with them with all of our preschoolers. We transport a lot of preschoolers here in our district. And then Westfield is our lightest route for special education. Next slide. And when it comes to our high schoolers, we transport about 825 students, River City High School being 701 of those students. The north end of town and the in-town area, which is like the central area, West Capitol area, they are our heaviest routes. Bright, Washington, Middle College, and YOLO combined are our lighter routes, but that's just because there's not as many students outside of those walking distance that require that transportation. And then our special ed routes are fairly light for our high schoolers and TAL students as well. Next slide. Our current bus fleet is 23 diesel buses, 4 propane buses, 4 electric buses, and 2 passenger vans. Our current fleet is sufficient for our current demand in transportation, but as our community grows and the demand increases, we will definitely need to invest in more school buses. Next slide. So it was asked, is there a savings with our electric buses versus our diesel buses? So a lot goes into this kind of research. So what we did was we specifically looked at our fuel savings. We took a diesel bus and we took an electric bus and we grabbed one of our routes and we calculated the fuel costs to run a diesel bus for that specific route. And it was about $56,000. And then we took that same route with an electric bus, calculated the charging times, and we actually found that we save about $35,000 to run that same route with an electric school bus. So yes, there's savings there when we use an electric versus a diesel bus. Next slide, please. This is Monique's expertise, so I'm going to hand it to her. Okay, so glancing at our transportation plan, it shows that our total 2021-2022 transportation expenses were $2.9 million. An estimated 60% reimbursement of those expenses would be about $1.7 million, and then less of the 2021-2022 LCFF transportation add-ons of the $400,000. It leaves us with a total revenue of about $1.3 million. Our expenses are about $2.5 million for salaries and benefits, and then other expenses are about, right at that $1 million. One of the things I'm really looking forward to is having a competitive salary wage for my department. Finding new school bus drivers, it's tough when we are comparing to some of the other jobs out there. And so thanks to Yergos, he's done a fantastic job about promoting the need, and I really think this is going to be helpful because that is one of the first questions that a potential new driver asks is, what is the starting rate? So if this is going to benefit me somehow, some way there, it's a win for transportation. Next slide, please. Okay, talking next steps. So we are here tonight to ask the board for their approval of our 2023-2024 home to school transportation plan. And then moving forward from there, we would like to review our current policies and maybe recommend some revisions moving forward that will align with the current district needs as appropriate while still meeting the guidelines of the transportation plan requirements. Next slide, please. And that ends my presentation.
Thank you. Okay, I'm looking and I don't see any public comments. Am I correct on that? Okay. Then bringing it to the board. Do we have any board comment? Okay, Basati?
Yeah. Okay, so I remember I was the one who asked a question about the VIA, and it said 13 to 18 with parent approval can ride by themselves, right? But not under 13. That was correct.
Correct. Under 13 needed to ride with a parent.
And then one question kind of stuck in my mind. Since we're dealing with declining enrollment and ADA that's also declining, if we were to increase our routes, the length of our routes, do you think the impact on ADA would be sufficient enough to offset the cost of
To clarify, to offset the impact to the cost of increasing our routes?
Yeah, so what was it for K8? It's, 3/4, no, a little less.
3/4 mile.
3/4 of a mile. And then middle, it's a mile and a half, and then 2. So if we were to somehow shrink that, would that somehow, maybe we made it a half mile, maybe we made it like 3/4 of a mile for middle, and maybe a mile and a half or, a mile and a quarter for high school. I'm just spitballing here. Like, do you think the impact on that would be significant enough? Because that's a dramatic increase in transportation costs. So would that be significant enough to where, the greater amount of people that we might be able to bring in? Because I know transportation does have an impact on ADA. So I'm just curious.
I think that we currently have a staffing and a fleet structured where we were when we had 95% ADA. But right now we have 90% ADA. If we get back to 95% ADA, that would be wonderful, and that will help us to cover our current costs. However, if we increased our routes with our current ADA, that I don't think we would be able to recoup the savings per se, because we're staffed at a particular ADA. My personal goal, I'd love to have 100% ADA. That's my ultimate goal, and I don't know if he's still here, working with Dr. Burns and working with Yorgos to help get our students to school, and should that be transportation, to be able to support our families, that would be wonderful. And I think it's one of the areas that we do need to consider and continue to speaking with our families to find out what really are those barriers, and maybe partnering with our partners like VIA and Yellow Bus to see, in what ways can we support our families to help get our students to school while we're still looking at our financial resources.
Right. Yeah, no, I was sad to see that, the VIA, I would like to see that our VIAs for any of our students should be free. $60 a month for a VIA pass, I think, presents a hardship on our parents. And I would love to work with the, 2x2 committee for the city to maybe present that as something that we can propose to the city and via, you know, that if our kids have a school ID, then they get free transportation to and from school during school hours, not, you know, not willy-nilly whenever you want, you know, but just during school hours. So the other questions that I had, because you're hitting something near and dear to my heart, is about the electric buses. But first I'm going to ask, what is the age of our diesel buses? What's our diesel fleet like? Are we getting close to the age of, hey, we need to replace them?
So I'm currently working with my department to come up with an Excel spreadsheet to have all that information. But I do know that we are currently working on getting rid of 3 diesel buses that are at their maximum age limits for 3 electric school buses.
Right.
So I'm currently working on that. But that is our goal now. Now that we have those 3 coming in and there's a plan for that, we need to sit down and address the rest of our fleet, where we are with age expectancy on those buses, and what the plan is to move forward, because there are a lot of grants out there.
Yeah.
So we don't want to miss those opportunities. So we are currently working on that, but we have 3 in the process.
And that's basically how we got the electric buses in the first place, was through the grants. So yes, bully on that. Yeah, we want to do that. I guess my question is the difference between running an electric bus. That's good information. Like, how much in the way of in terms of investment, like, you know, how many years of $35,000 savings does it take to make up the cost of a diesel bus, right? Like, I'm getting into the figures. Okay, is it better for us to just make the investment in an electric bus, even if we don't get the grant? Because the cost savings will pay for itself in 4, 7, 12 years, right?
Correct.
No, you answered.
So when we were doing some of the research on that question, we learned that it does. It takes about 10 years to start to see the real true savings on the costs. But we here in Washington Unified, we haven't experienced the longevity and life expectancies of our electric vehicles. Now, we know that our diesels, those go for years, right? And so that's something we're definitely experiencing as we go. We're tracking a lot of information, especially getting new buses in, right? Because we've had a few years now where we've been able to document what works and doesn't work, and how we can save costs with our electric bus fleets. We just recently went over from our Clipper Creek chargers to our Blink chargers, and so we're transitioning with that too. You know, I'm working with that company as well to see where can we maybe start applying some credits so that we can even get more savings back in return. So still a real big learning curve for myself, but I'm definitely been diving into all of that with this company.
Yeah, and I know that after with the batteries, there is a certain period of time that you start losing the amount of retainable charge, right? So I think close to like 10 years, you're about 75%. So at some point it does happen, and they probably won't last as long as diesel bus, but they're also cleaner and better for the environment, which also has an impact in our.
And it's allowing us savings, right? We're able to take that money and maybe shift it somewhere else in the department to maybe like to support other students in our district, things like that.
Yeah, I had a question, kind of piggybacking off of, I was going to call clerk too. I meant trustee.
Why not? I do it.
Like, oh, sorry. The distance that we are putting towards, like, if you're K through 6, it's this many miles, this and that. How about, is there a way that we could possibly make it where it's our older kids
bringing that number a little closer than 2 miles. And the reason I'm suggesting the high schoolers or the older is because looking at the numbers, they're the ones that are more impacted in not going to school. And so I know YOLO is literally 1.9 outside. So they do not have that public, or not public, but they don't have that bus route at all. So they do have to rely on those other avenues and their parents. And, you know, it's a disservice to our youth there. So if anything, perhaps making the high school mileage just maybe 1.5, somewhere around there, to help that.
So a part of our next step was reviewing our current policies, and that's going to be a really great opportunity for us to revisit what our current board policy is and talk some of those things through. I agree with you. Our elementary students, even with these distances, they're making it to those bus stops. But I talking with some of the admins at YOLO High, it's literally moving it like 0.4, right? So not opposed to it, definitely willing to review it and, you know, go from there with what the board policy is right now.
That's all that I had. I really just, I know YOLO is not in my district, but a lot of those kids come from my district. And so I want to make sure that they are getting to school. That's all.
And why we have district elections, they're all of our elective kids. I want to thank you for what a great job you did going through all of the questions we had last time. And those were really deep dives, some of the questions we asked, and giving such good, succinct information. Seeing the cost savings, we knew that we got grants to get some of those buses. So then seeing that, it was just really great. We haven't had that before in that way. So thank you for giving such detailed responses and really taking the time to do that, because I'm sure it was a lot of time in between meetings. So, and I am fully supportive of down the road too, if there, you look at opportunities, if there's vans that also make sense to expand vans, that if that's, we've heard from some that might help their schools. If that is a place, you know, I'm open to whatever you need. And then I appreciated hearing you advocate for, one of the challenges was the pay scale for your employees. And I know even when I was talking with one of the van drivers actually and said, oh, how is it going? And he goes, well, I really like my job. I'm so happy to be here, but I really want to be driving the bus. And I thought, why? And I thought, oh, because you like buses. And he's like, no, because you get paid more. And so I think that is important for us to recognize, is that, you know, it's just an important piece that you brought up, and I appreciate hearing that and better understanding where we have challenges with recruiting people. So with that, we need to have a motion to approve.
A motion.
Okay, Clerk Coffey and does the motion.
Trustee
and
Pizzotti.
then Trustee Pizzotti seconds. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye, too. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Have a wonderful evening.
All right. I know you have to be up early with those buses. All right, that takes us to board governance. And before we start, I just want to make the point that we had the Financial Literacy Assembly Bill 984 that Trustee Pizzotti asked for, assured that it would be on this meeting. The reason it is not is because we are not a full, we knew that we were going to be missing 2 members of this sending a letter. I should have, I want to apologize. I should have caught it and asked that somebody reach out specifically to you and see if you wanted it still on the agenda, knowing that there would be less of us. So I want to, I know, I apologize, and it was an oversight that I didn't catch. So it'll be on the next agenda, and you have assurances, but that is why, is because we knew we were we would be missing people tonight. And hopefully we'll have a full board next time, but even if not, it'll be there. Okay, so now that takes us to board governance, and that is our first read of the adoption of the 0000 series board policy administrative regulations. And coming up, we have Dr. Jay Burns, but I also have on here Dr. Ann Zeman, our interim assistant superintendent of education services as well.
Dr. Burns has done the vast majority of the work on this.
Thank you.
Dr. Hildreth, trustees, thank you for having me. Okay, tonight, we're looking at board policy number 0450 and administrative regulation number 0450 were presented to the policy subcommittee on March 8th, 2023. The policy subcommittee provided feedback on the recommended changes made by staff and by the California School Board Association. Administration requests approval of the below policies, regulations for formal board adoption.
Perfect. And to speak to this, well, first, I don't see any public comment. Correct. Okay.
No public comment.
To speak to this, some of the changes or pieces that we brought in on this were specifically to add guardian and caregiver.
Correct.
Language in here.
They, them, the. Yep.
And then to change the pronouns here.
And then there were some other recommendations.
Do you want to go through each piece, or do you want to ask if you have any questions on any of it? Okay, you're good with all of it on these? And part of it, can you remind me of the conversation Dr. Burns was about the bomb threat as well as active shooter? Am I correct in that that was part of the conversation?
That one was actually paused.
Okay.
And we're getting input on those two.
Okay.
From our site safety committees and site leadership teams and other.
Okay, thank you. Perfect for that. Okay,
So,
all right.
Quick question, is there, does this board policy have, I was trying to find it and I didn't see it, timeframes in which, when we look to our school site safety plans and our collaboration with PD and fire, is there timeframes in which we get our plans to them so they can look them over ahead of time?
Yes.
Is that spelled out?
It's not
here?
specified specifically in there, but it's in Ed Code and CDE
March 1st of
specifies
every year?
what the expectations are. We've been meeting with PD ongoing throughout the year, and they've looked at our safety plans over and over again. And anytime recommendations come up, we go, and then we also email the fire marshal for feedback as well.
Okay, so I guess what I'm getting at is the safety plans by March 1st of every year is what it says apparently in Ed Code. So I guess what I'm saying is, are we getting it to, even though we meet with them, are we giving them the full plan?
Yes.
With enough time?
Yes.
So that they can?
Yes, we actually sent it back to them in September.
Okay.
Is when we sent it to them.
Okay, good.
Yeah.
All I got.
Can I ask that when we do that next time in the future conversations with the police department, if we can just ask, years ago, it's been a long time, we had a third-party agency, I'm not saying that they were the right ones to do this, but go through and do kind of a threat assessment of our schools. And so, bless you, maybe a conversation to see if it would be time to update that again and what the recommendation is to them and you and staff as well. Okay. All right. Well, then, does somebody want to make a motion to approve?
I'll make a motion to approve.
I'll second.
Okay, so motion made by trustee Pasali, seconded by clerk Coffey. All in favor?
Aye.
I too vote aye, and now that takes us to the first read and adoption of the 5,000 series of the board policy and administrative regulations.
Yes, this is Q2 first read and adoption of 5,000 series. Board policy number 5142 and administrative regulation number 5142 were presented to the policy committee on March 8th, 2023. The policy subcommittee provided feedback on the recommended changes made by staff and by the California School Board Association. Administration requests approval of the below policies, regulations for formal board adoption.
And I see no public comment. Okay, no public comment on this. Are there any board comments as we go through? This piece, okay.
No, if it's ready, I would make the motion.
Yep. Okay, so the motion has been moved by trustee Pizzotti,
And second.
seconded by clerk Coffee. All in favor?
Aye.
I too vote aye. Thank you, Dr. Burns. You always get the late night ones. All right. So now that takes us to the board and superintendent comments and Dr. Hildreth.
Good evening, President Kirby Gonzalez and trustees, colleagues, community. I'd like to begin by saying Ramadan Mubarak, happy Ramadan. As many of you know, Ramadan began on March 22nd and ends on April 21st. And we were able to send just information to our staff and community about what that means, how our students will be experiencing that, and sharing some resources that we hope are helpful. And so we just take this as an opportunity to ensure our schools and our community have a blessed and a peaceful month. I want to thank our community for using your voice to let our students know that they are seen, that they're valued, that they're respected. As I meet with our students, they highlight the importance of being able to be their authentic selves at our schools. And I know that's one of the highlights that they shared, that they do feel that the adults on our campuses recognize whatever their needs are and are willing to support them in any ways that we can. And we know that when we have clubs such as Gay Straight Alliance, that it is usually a staff member who is willing to be the sponsor to allow our children to have that safe space. And that doesn't happen in every district, unfortunately, but that's one of the things that makes Washington Unified so special, that as we can see tonight, stepping up for kids is what we do. So I'm just thankful to everyone who came out tonight. And I will be highlighting this with our students. My advisory is very engaged in what happens at the board meeting. So I probably will show them a clip of this is what happens at board meetings, and they don't, so that they understand what advocacy looks like. And when you think about people who have your back, I want them to see that. So thank you so much for that. Last week, I was fortunate enough to attend the California Association of African American Superintendents and Administrators annual conference. It was great to be surrounded by so many wonderful colleagues representing communities throughout our state, and we collaborated on a variety of topics that schools are encountering everywhere, and challenges that our students are facing. And I was also a guest speaker for a panel discussion focused on inspiring women leaders, which is a topic near and dear to my heart. And there are great takeaways from the conversation, so I'm excited to meet with the team and just share learnings. And there was actually, the day before the conference started, there was a session for students and there was a session for parents. And there were about 700 students who came. It was in Southern Cal. And then I think next year it'll be Northern Cal. So hoping to bring some of our students and parents to get some professional development and share that. And that's how we get great practices spread across the community. We heard a lot of support for YOLO High. And so I want to highlight that we have several students from YOLO High who have completed their coursework and are graduating early this school year. So there are 12 students on this list, and I'm going to read their names because woo woo. So Kimberly Campos Mendoza, Bonifacio Ayala Ramirez, Alana Balzadua, Kevin Erickson Igata, Ruth Escamilla, Jessica Guerra, Kamari Nash, Johnny Paz Herrera, Philip Renaga, Gabe Sutton, Malasa Williams, and Johnny Paz. Each of these students will participate in the YOLO High graduation ceremony in June, and their next steps are they're going to either work full-time, some are going to go to Sac City College, the American University of Paris, mechanical electrical technology program, vocational training program, and Job Corps. So a variety of ways that we support that college and career readiness. We had on Monday of this week, the Yolo County Office of Ed hosted its annual Yolo County Elected Leaders and Officials Forum. And it was the first time this event was held in person since the pandemic. So it was a great way to have all Yolo County school districts represented and showcasing their work. And it was great for me to be able to meet people because for the last 2 school years, it has been virtual. So this was the first time we were getting back together. And of course, we had a lot of wonderful things to highlight, and I am always proud to do so. So I was able to talk about our new Office of Equity, Diversity, and Inclusion, our strategic plan, the equity principles, our portrait of a graduate, the launch of our newcomer center, our attendance and enrollment campaigns that we heard about today, the way that we have enhanced professional development offerings for certificated and classified staff, our focus on recruitment and true retention efforts for our staff and community schools. So that was just a little bit of the great things that we've been doing. And then lastly, with community schools, just want to highlight thanks for all of our community involved in that process and understanding. I think our WST president said we're flying the plane while we are putting it together, but all intents and purposes have been positive. Everyone understands that the more we can do for our students, the faster we're going to get that portrait of a graduate, actually coming to life. So just want to take that opportunity to say thank you and looking forward and keeping positivity vibes, fingers crossed, that we will actually receive the grant and then be able to do more great work for our students. And that's it for me. Thank you.
Thank you so much. All right, Trustee Pizzotti.
Thank you. I just wanted to say I am so proud of our community. I absolutely love them. And it also goes to show that our community watches. When they hear and see things that are hurtful and ugly, they come and stand together and, show their love and support for our LGBTQ plus students and the clubs that support them. I think that is just, it's so impressive to me. And I just kind of get emotional thinking about, that's how much our community stands together and wraps their arms around everybody. And I love it. I just absolutely love it. So yeah, I'm so proud. Let's see. I loved what you said, President Knapp, about getting a flag and raising it above the school district office of a trans flag or even the combination flag would be lovely. I would absolutely love to see that and support. I just think that would be an absolute wonderful showing, especially with how supportive this community is. I had the county 2x2 met on, let's see, yesterday. Yeah, so we met yesterday. Jennifer, and I don't know her last name, but she was from the Yolo County Health and Human Services Department.
For Edward.
Edwards, right. So she gave an update on our K-12 partnership and basically, said, hey, we're actually doing a great job in providing services through all of our sources, but we could be, and Trustee Wong or Vice President Wong said, we could be doing more if we had the ability to actually account for billing for Medicare and Medi-Cal dollars, that, we could potentially actualize a match, right? But the problem is we need to be able to hire somebody to do the billing, right? not something that we can easily do right away. So there is more to be realized and actualized if we leveraged it. So it may be actually taking, we may actually have to take a look at how we go about working that into our budget so we can actually get more for services to our kids. Let's see, Supervisor Villegas handed out some of the mental health campaign activity booklets and flashcards. It's called It Only Takes, and you've seen the stake signs all throughout our community. Well, the flashcards are wonderful because it has, a flashcard with an activity or something, and you can look at it, and maybe we can give it to our kids or our classrooms, and maybe for 5 minutes in a day, a teacher just says, hey, let's practice mindfulness. Let's try taking some deep breaths. It's all about promoting mental health. And especially right now, our kids, certainly need to focus on themselves. So I thought it was great. With that, I think I want to keep us here before 10 o'clock. I want to get us out of here. So I'm going to say on to you.
I will make it very short. Happy Ramadan. Yay! Honk, can't wait. Definitely love the advocacy for I saw this on TikTok, Legitimiquois. It was like LGBTQIA.
Right.
I always heard it and I thought it sounded so crazy. Much easier for me to say than LGBTQIA.
Right.
But anyway, I saw it and was like, that should be patent. I think it's beautiful, just like the community. So that is all I have to say. Looking forward to this month almost over.
Okay.
Not much.
Thank you. Yes, March is a challenging month in education because there's not a break, and the spring break is coming. But, it's a time of really like pushing and thinking of what is your why, and really, it's a big push. So thank you to everyone for all that they're doing for all of our kids in the district. And it was beautiful to have folks come out, as I said prior, grateful to live in this community. And when we're talking not just, I appreciated hearing the statistics that were given of our students, and really the numbers is powerful. But we're not just talking about our students who identify LGBTQ+. We're also talking about those who live in a family, households who identify. We're also talking about our staff members throughout our district. And so really, I just appreciate that this is a community that has come out in full force, making it very clear what we stand for. How beautiful to have just a packed agenda tonight with comments. So I want to make it clear that we have had this district approved. The progressive pride flag has flown in the district during Pride Month, and so I want to make that clear. But yes, the transgender flag that was recently flown in a neighboring district, I think is an important step that we can move towards as well. And having the resolution, as you know, we've been passing resolutions now at the beginning of the year, and then being able to highlight and do things throughout the year. But because the Transgender Visibility Day was not adopted at the beginning, we will be adopting it at our next board meeting. And I want to thank also with Ramadan, just that staff and everyone here is doing a good job being educated as well. What does that mean if your kids might be hungry as they're, through the day, or a little bit more tired or whatnot, and just being sensitive and aware of that, I think is very important. And I appreciate this district for doing that. I appreciate also hearing our special education families advocate, and we know that our FCMAT report on special education, the district asked for our own audit to be done, and that those results are just now being looked through for the district, which I so appreciate, and that we can bring in families in those conversations as well, because they really are here with the best of intentions to help us do even better. And then I want to thank you for the elected officials forum and superintendent's forum, and I apologize that it used to be on a Friday, and then I could go, but they made
Fridays
it
are
on a
easier.
Monday
Yeah.
when we're at work. But they're in spirit, and I know that you made this district look good with all the things happening, and I just want to appreciate you for how you lead the district, Dr. Hildreth, in so many ways. That you are out really is the face of the district. I'm so grateful for you. I want to give a shout out. It was shared earlier, but Literacy Night, of course, all of our schools are doing phenomenal things all the time. But we just had a Literacy Night at Bridgeway Island, which was really special. And so we went and we had this whole, packet our kids got. They had to go around to all different stations as they moved through and had wonderful resources. And Vice Principal Dietrich really did a lot of the work, although it was many people lifting. But then every child got, look how beautiful this book is. And there were many, many books, and all with just representation of the community that we serve. And so this one was Malala's Magic Pencil. I read it to my own students. I was a little selfish and brought this one to read to them, and my borrowed it for my daughter. But so many books, just tables full of all different books, but all representing the cultures our kids come from, and that families could take free for every single kid that came. Isn't that amazing? Such a beautiful book. So that was just really incredible. With that, we had one of our families that was there that was reading the book that she wrote and her husband illustrated. So one of our families, Teresa, Cal Rother, wrote Three Sisters and the Black Snake, and she shared this beautiful book that she wrote. She has another one coming out. So, of course, my daughter Chloe has her signature in it, and that was extra special. And we also have some of our parents, who wrote, this is Megan Moyer. She has kids in our district, The Zoo Party. We have Andy Domek is another parent in our district, Goldilocks and the Three Bears. And so with the Completely Ruined by Cabbage. So I'm sure we have many other parents in our district that are authors too, but it's so special to bring them in that way and have them share. And I'm sure our students will one day be published as well. So that was special. And then I'll end just with this amazing district swag. If you would, these amazing stickers, thank you, Yorgos, for these and our stickers. I'm so grateful to have our equity, excellence, empowerment for every student every day now on my computer. So thank you for all of this and for what all of you do to ensure equity, excellence, empowerment for students every day. Yes.
So I forgot to mention, you brought up something and it triggered something, and I did it literally before I got here. I took a tour of the special day preschool class at Elkhorn. And I was just so impressed with the teachers there and how passionate they were about their kids. And so I just wanted to, I would be remiss if I didn't mention them. And they gave me quite the education. So I do appreciate them, and I wanted to make sure that I did acknowledge.
I'm going to see them tomorrow. And speaking of Elkhorn, we heard that they did the STEM competition, with their kids. And I saw that. I went to UC Davis. And then Vice President Wong was there as well. And they were incredible. I mean, we just have great, great kids and educators who are there giving their time on the weekend in a lot of rain. So they're phenomenal. Okay, that takes us now to our future topics. And we have, of course, the financial literacy, Assembly Bill 984, which will be there. We have our Brown Act study session with our district lawyer, and that is April 20th. We have our social emotional screener results, which will be April. Governor's May revise of the budget, which will be in May, and the Board of Education meeting calendar for adoption. We also have another equity board meeting coming up next Thursday. We're together a lot. Ooh, and as I move, which is great, love being with you all. I also forgot to say one last thing. Sorry, everyone. I know we're ready to go. But did you know that there's a national handball magazine? Did anyone know this? Well, there is. And our students, Yolo High School is highlighted in the National Handbook Magazine, and they have a big old cover page. So we'll have to share that on our district as well. Okay, so any other future agenda items, anything that we need to add? Okay, then we've got it. All right. Then we will adjourn and we will see you all soon in our next special.